Hey, this is Jason J. Lewis, Superman from Justice League Action, and you're watching SuperWonder Legacy.
You're strong.
I know.
Are you a sight for sore eyes?
It's nice to have someone who likes you for being you.
It's okay. I've got you now.
Just like in the movies.
Welcome to SuperWonder Legacy. I am Jared. I am here with Britt. What's up, Britt?
Hello, hello.
And today, I was really excited for this one because today we are discussing yet another of my favorite DC characters of all time. We are comparing Diana of Themyscira to Jessica Cruz, Green Lantern. Hell yes! I love this character. Woo! All right, so let's get started with this one. And by the way, so Britt, so what's kind of funny is that when you sent me the show notes, I looked at the title that you had, and I was like, that is so much better than what I had put down there on the title.
So what did you have?
Something else. I don't remember exactly what the title was. It wasn't that, but I'm like, oh, this is way better.
So you literally just you threw it out, but you literally just threw it out your mind too because you instantly forgot.
Yeah. It was that inferior to what you put out. It was that inferior.
Wow.
You were that good. Hey, what's up, Cameron?
Appreciate the compliment.
Yeah, hell yeah. So Jessica Cruz is one of the best characters. Why don't I have the for some reason technical difficulties, folks? For some reason it's not giving me control here. Can you hear me, Brett?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. For some reason my whole screen has darkened. I'm going to try and leaving coming in.
Okay.
And all right, so let's try this again. It wouldn't be a Comics League episode without technical difficulties. Hi, NJ.
Exactly.
So here's the thing. I'm going to address the elephant in the room right now. Yes, the New York Comic Con thing right now is not what we wanted, but here's the thing.
It was a dud.
Well, here's the other thing. It doesn't necessarily mean they're not going to announce something later. So it's not the end of the world, folks. For some reason, I can't share screen if I do this. It's not letting me share my screen. What is going on here? I'm going to do it again. All right, so let's try this again. It's just for some reason when I go full screen on the slideshow and I hit like share screen on this thing, it just goes dark. It doesn't give me any options. Okay, here we go. Wait, do I have it? What the heck is going on today? Okay, hang on. I'm gonna do this one more time, people.
Okay, so while Jerry's getting that straight, I guess we could just talk about Diana and Jessica, the introduction. So yeah, that Jessica is Jared's favorite character. I guess second to Diana, but or equal. Um,
All right, let's try this one more time. Man,
okay, good. You're
right
you're
now.
back.
I don't know what's going on here. All right, so let me try this one more time. Because if not, I'll find some way to share the PowerPoint. All right, so let's do this. So this, and okay. Cross your finger. Oh my God. What is going on? What is going on with this? Is it PowerPoint that's giving me the issues? It might be PowerPoint. All right, so what can I do here? All right, I'm going to read.
The joys of technology.
All right. Oh, and my computer and my camera is also mirrored. 1 second. Do not mirror my camera. All right. So, anyway, so Britt, tell us what you learned about Jessica Cruz while I try and figure this out.
Okay, so with Jessica, I guess we're just free falling this,
I'm going to try
to
and
get this.
figure this out. I'm going to try and figure this out.
So, yeah, Jessica, she was introduced in let's say the transitional period of New 52, um, before Dark Side War, I think. Was that
Roughly,
like
yes.
right before? And she has anxiety, and she's very fearful. She was traumatized.
I got it.
Yay. This free for all is just not.
Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. My computer was giving me issues. Anyway,
Well, technology does its own thing,
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was. So what happened was, so for context, and we'll get into this later in the stream, but for context, Jessica's history is so. You had let me see, what story? What was it? Oh yeah, you had the Forever Evil event where the crime syndicate invaded. This was one of like the last big events of the New 52. And then what you had was the crime syndicate's version of Green Lantern, named Power Ring, was killed by Sinestro, and his power ring escaped. Now, the thing about that ring is that it was a sentient like being named Volthoom. Now, here's the fun part: is that Volthoom is an actual Green Lantern character. He was one of the first Green Lanterns, so that's kind of cool how they like factored in Green Lantern lore. So it came to her, and with her, she had a crippling agoraphobia and anxiety. So that's basically Jessica's like first story. And the part of her like story that I always felt was like one of the most compelling things about the character, because here's the thing: a lot of the times when they add a Green Lantern, it's just like, oh, this version of Hal, this version of Kyle. Jessica is her own character because they took a concept of a core that has to like overcome fear constantly. And in Jessica's own words, I'm afraid to leave the house.
Which was very interesting because it seemed like they tried to make how Kyle and John interchangeable at certain points.
Sometimes, yes.
But Jessica, I just don't think that you could give her personality or, the characteristic of her having anxiety, of her having this fear to anyone else.
Yeah,
that is just her story.
The thing is, she is one of the most relatable Green Lanterns because we've all been afraid per se. And I think that's part of why she, as opposed to Simon, has like endured so long as a character. And because if you notice that there's a lot of times when DC tries and fails to establish a new character like Trinity, I have to bring up Trinity, but
Well, she is in DCKO.
who, Trinity or Jessica?
Trinity.
No, she's not.
Yes, she is. Scott showed it yesterday. Or, yeah.
Really? I didn't see her in the issue.
With Sub-Zero.
Trinity? No. Hang on.
Go to the cover and you'll see. She's right there.
Okay, wait. Are you talking about the cover that has all the crossover characters?
Yes.
That's not Trinity.
Yes, it is.
Hang on. You know what? DM me the cover you're talking about. I gotta see this.
Jerry, you are seeing the right thing, but the white dress.
Hang on.
Do you know who that is? Do you know the character that is?
Hang on. So, are you talking about the cover that also has Homelander on it?
Yes.
There's no Trinity on that.
Jared, the white dress. That's the Annabelle doll.
Oh! I don't know why I didn't put that.
Oh my god.
That's so good. I thought you were like, I was like, did I miss something? Because I'm like, no.
I was saying the white dress.
That was a good one. Yeah, you almost scared NJ. But... Well, you could have also said Homelander as well, because they are of a similar character.
No, I said Sub-Zero, the cover,
Yeah, but all right. But the point is, Jessica is like, when you look at it, they try. Britt scared me. She scared me too, NJ. I was like, wait, did I miss something? And I'm like, oh, it's Britt. So the thing about Jessica is that there's been a lot of attempts to create. See, here's the thing. Jessica is the first like female Green Lantern. And again, there is the temptation to, I know you hate this word, Britt, but to wokeify it and go, oh my gosh, she's so much better than Hal in every way. But it's like, no, the only character that she's better than, and DC has demonstrated this, is her sidekick, Simon Baz. I say sidekick because that's what they called him in the Batman Ninja 2, and we'll talk about that.
I have no idea Simon Baz's backstory. Like, it seemed like he was created by Jeff Johns, but other than that, I don't know anything in depth.
Here's the thing. When he was created to be a plot device. It wasn't like he was like this big character that has this big backstory. And that's why he kind of took a backseat to Jessica. Apparently what happened is he was one of those people. I think he like stole a car and then they put him in Guantanamo Bay. I don't remember exactly like his backstory, but they just started doing new stuff with him. But anyway, so Jessica and Diana have there's similarities. But I love that green construct of Diana. I love that. It always in Justice League Rebirth. I know you hate Rebirth, Britt, but they did a great like arc where it was Jessica training. Training under Wonder Woman, but Wonder Woman's like, no, I wasn't training you. I was training with you. And Jessica was like so happy. She's like, yes. I freaking love that.
That is the only positive I can give that.
Yeah, exactly. So tell us how Jessica is similar to our favorite Amazon.
Okay, so even though she is engulfed in fear, the fact that she was still chosen by the ring, it shows that she has some bit of courage, somewhere, and willpower. So, and that's pretty much what Diana embodies. Truth, will, even if I would say Diana doesn't have fear in herself, it's very complicated with her. I think her fear would be disappointing Hippolyta, but
Hmm.
the fear that she has is more so the fear of Hippolyta, of trying to be protective, of that mother's fear of not wanting her daughter to be corrupted by man's world. So
Hmm.
she basically recognized that and tries to fight. It's not to be rebellious against Hippolyta, but it is to show her that she has the strength to, fight against that
Hmm.
corruption or um failing. But yeah, Diana doesn't, her fear is a little bit complicated, more complicated than a um personal trauma, that Jessica has had.
And you just gave
But
me an idea.
of course I did. um but with Jessica, she's in a constant battle with every day, as you said. She doesn't want to leave her house. With Diana, I don't really like the word sheltered. I would say she was more, and even with Hippolyta, because the way that Hippolyta is characterized, it's like she's a helicopter mom or she's strict or whatever like that. It wasn't that. It was more so just she has had many lives, over millennials, and she just wanted to protect Diana. And once Diana knows the stories of her sisters and everything that they've gone through, and especially Hippolyta, again, she has to take on that burden. And but she's more outgoing, to show pretty much a better way.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, it's still the fact of either way, it's still them overcoming something, whether Diana is helping to overcome someone else's fear or that personal, it's more so her having the sympathy while Jessica has the empathy of it.
Yeah. And then Dave says, would Wonder Woman or Jessica Cruz win in a fight? Probably Wonder Woman, but I would hope Jessica because I mean Wonder Woman is the one that would like. I mean, it would be Wonder Woman, but it's like depends on what we mean by a fight. More on that later. But and it's the other thing that Wonder Woman and Jessica kind of have in common, and it's like the idea because yeah, the way I kind of see it is like Wonder Woman is like she does fear, but she fears like losing, like failing her mother, failing her people, failing her as her mission of Wonder Woman. And the Tom King run fears going through life without Steve. I'm sorry, I had to. But and Jessica also has that sort of fear of expectations. Like she's not going to be a good Green Lantern because again, she can't leave the house. This was again, Britt, another Rebirth book that is utterly spectacular is the Green Lanterns book that she shared with Simon. It is utterly amazing.
That was another thing that I was going to bring up. It's so funny that, with that Rebirth book, when it first came out, of course, I think it started out with them being like reluctant
Mm-hmm. Yep.
partners. But all of a sudden, they tried to make them into like love interests. And it a little bit after a while, the
Mm-hmm.
covers or whatever. And to see that some of the fans, it was like they don't seem much like a pairing, romantic type thing. But how superficial, some fans were was like, oh, they're both Green Lanterns, so of course they would be together.
I
And
see where you're going, Britt.
I'm kind of like, oh, really? So just because they're Green Lanterns, like nothing else connects them but that.
I
And
know.
honestly, I think that towards the end or midways of the run, the writer began trying to implement that, and it just didn't last. It's like they had one cover of them trying to be romantic, and then after that, it just, I don't even think it was brought up
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have like compassion as strength. So what do we mean by that, Britt?
So with that, they are compassionate, beings, especially Diana. She
Hmm.
cares so much for everyone. With Jessica, to me, from what I've seen of her, she does care, but that is where her fear comes from, of her wanting to reach out to people, because I guess her trauma comes from uh losing friends, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's is that she is a good person. She is very, well, before the tragedy, she was very social, outgoing and everything. And for her to open up though is very difficult for her. But you can tell that that's what she pretty much strives for, is that safety net of friendship.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like the other thing is yeah, it's something that like that's always been very interesting about Jessica. And NJ asked, what are your thoughts on their interaction, Jessica versus the Fatal Five? We'll talk about that because we're going to talk about that movie. But yeah, it's quite an experience, but it's in character for that interpretation of Wonder Woman. But it's like, yeah, it's like they have their own special version of empathy, and it's because of like, of course, with Wonder Woman, I always thought of it as like empathy of duty because again, it's like the world comes first. That's what drew her to Superman, the new 52. With Jessica, it's she understands doubting oneself and not feeling like you're good enough. And Britt, if you can see me winking, that has something to do with my idea I mentioned earlier. So I am so see, Britt, what this is called is a flexing of power because I know I got you. That's what I got you. I got you.
Got it.
And of course, representation. And again, I want to emphasize this point. Jessica is the 100% perfect example of creating a character that, because here's the thing. Too many times when creatives create characters for diversity's sake, they make them the most superficial character. With Jessica, you forget that she's a Latina woman because they don't really emphasize it that much. That's not her whole identity. Same thing with like characters like Dreamer and such. And that's another reason why she has like endured, because when you give her like these like flaws, if you will, but also the personality that she has, people are more likely to like latch on to the character. And of course, with Wonder Woman, I mean, here's the thing. Couldn't we also say that technically they're both women of color because Diana at least is supposed to have some melanin in her?
Diana is supposed to be basically, I would say, racially ambiguous.
Yeah, but
She
yeah.
is,
Mhm.
being from the Mediterranean. First of all, she's crafted,
With
sculpted by
clay.
clay, and then, given life by the gods. So Diana does not have any type of, specific ethnicity. And none of the Amazons, actually, because first of all, they are reincarnated souls, and the island is supposed to be multicultural anyway. So Diana, I would say that being, sculpted from the island sand, I don't know, maybe it could be that every culture within that is implemented, within her. And that's
Okay.
what makes her in every woman and the purest of human.
Exactly, it could, and Jessica's. I forget exactly where she is, but I know she's like from South America, I think. But it's like again, so you have two strong women in prominent roles. I mean, currently, Britt, in the Jeremy Adams run, she is the leader of the entire Green Lantern Corps, pretty much.
Really?
Yeah,
That's interesting.
Again, that's why I love that man's Green Lantern run, because and I gave that its own slide later because there's a particular story in there that is, speaking of empathy, Britt, that when I read it, it's an issue that came out like a couple of months ago. But when I saw it, I was like, okay, this guy understands all these different lanterns. But yeah, so it's essentially the idea of again, it's like they didn't make Jessica like only like, oh, she's the Latina lantern. No, she's an actual character, and that's why it's harder for the anti-woke people on like YouTube and Twitter to really point to her and call her like a diversity character, because, well, I call her diversity character in terms of the negative connotation, because there is so much to this character, and that's partly why I love her so much.
Yeah, that is, how a character can have longevity, is that you don't emphasize on one aspect of that character and I think that is why John, Yara, Jace, Simon, Jay, all of those characters, it was kind of like a gimmick thing, and it was more so like, oh, Jace is the Black Batman, Yara, the Brazilian Wonder Woman, but she was very offensive, the way she was characterized, especially, oh, she's Brazilian, but she comes from Ohio or wherever she was from, and she was like this stereotype and very surface level of the Brazilian culture. And then you have John, his gimmick was, oh, he's the son of Superman, but he's also bisexual, but at the same time, he has a reporter boyfriend to match his father. So
because they wanted him to be the gay Superman.
Exactly. So it wasn't really, and even, how they presented it for PR, it was Superman now has a boyfriend, where you think that, oh, are you talking about Clark Kent?
Exactly. That's the way the media had all the headlines.
Exactly. So
but with Jessica, you really don't do that. And it's like, even with Simon, because Simon, he's well beyond being like the Muslim Green Lantern. He's
right. That's pretty much what I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying, calling him that. But with Jessica, she's basically characterized as she has, her anxiety and everything like that. But her culture, she is only celebrated, at the right time of that. And still it's more so of, again, that complexity of what she went through and how she became the Lantern. That's way more important.
Exactly. And by the way, I'm so excited. Here's the thing. New York Comic Con wasn't all bad. McFarlane announced they're finally doing a Jessica Cruz figure. So I'm like, mine. Anyway, continuing. So then we have the differences among the between the two. It's like, of course, Jessica Cruz is not empowered by the god. She has a space ring, and it shows her. And do you know how the ring chose her?
No.
Okay, so what happened is, near the end of Darkseid War, when all the gods, when all the Justice League have the god powers, she is literally taken over by Volthoom. In other words, Jessica's consciousness is like transferred into the ring, and Volthoom is like puppeting her like a zombie. And same thing happens to Cyborg, because Cyborg was taken over by the crime syndicate's grid. So what happened was, Cyborg, like Vic, uploaded himself to the ring so he can talk to Jessica. At the same time, Barry managed to separate himself from the Black Racer, which turned him into the god of death, and was running at him. And the Black Racer has to kill someone, or someone has to die in its presence. So it's gonna kill Barry. So Jessica says, "Okay, here's what I want you to do. So you can put me back in control of my body for a second. I want you to do that, and then I'll take the blow for Barry." And then Vic says, "Yeah, but but are you sure you really want to do this?" And then Jessica says, "Barry's going to die, Vic. Put me in control." She does, and what you think is the Black Racer kills her, but it turns out it killed Volthoom, the spirit in the ring. The ring shatters, and the Green Lantern ring from one of the lanterns shows up and goes, "You have the ability to overcome great fear. Welcome to the Green Lantern Corps."
That's a pretty, emotional type, background
Yeah.
that now it makes sense of why they tried to ship, Jessica with Barry too.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is because Barry she joined the Justice League when she was still powering, and Barry was trying to help her gain control of the ring because Volthoom is an actual entity in the ring, so was constantly trying to wrestle control with her, but he was constantly trying to basically help her. No, you control the ring does not control you. So I see what they were trying to do. I'm not necessarily on board with Barry and Jessica, but at the very least, they had some precedence.
But at the same time, it felt more like a mentor-mentee type thing.
True.
So, yeah.
True. Oh, and I love this. So they bring Hal Jordan in to like mentor Jessica. And he goes, "That's right. Hal Jordan is back, baby. I can't wait to see the look on Batman's face."
I like that they kept that Hal is being basically like a gnat to
Yeah.
Batman.
Yeah. I love that. That's always so good. And as we talked to before, Jessica has like a very intimate / complicated relationship with fear because of like everything that like happened to her. And Diana, they never really get into like what makes Diana afraid. And that almost seems like what would be a very interesting idea for a story, not by Tom King, obviously.
Right. That's pretty much what I was saying earlier, is that Diana's fear, unless it is about, well, I would say that her fear, yeah, is basically of disappointing Hippolyta. We saw that actually in the Deathstroke annual by Tony Daniel. And it was a hallucination of Hippolyta. But before that, it was a hallucination of Cal. And also, if Diana is to take on the mantle of God of War or Goddess of War, she was in fear of that because she didn't want to be corrupted by that. She wanted to bring peace, not destruction. So I would say that Diana's fear would be that, is always her failing her mission, failing her mother, disappointing her, or not being, if she, is to take on a role of some type of war, whether the mantle or just being within something like that, she doesn't want to cause so much destruction. And that is why the whole warrior woman thing, it shouldn't be that go-to for Diana. Whether it's Maxwell Lord or even this DC, KO event or anything else like that, Diana quickly picking up a sword, she will be very hesitant to do so. It would be her last resort.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and it's like you kind of also had it where in the new 52 when she was showering and there was like blood coming off of her and stuff. So you kind of also like had that, which I really like that.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think that that is where Diana's fear, comes from is more external, you
Yeah.
know, than internal like Jessica. But overall, they still have that connection of, you know, it's really their connection to people and wanting to connect with people and wanting them to be protected.
Yeah, exactly. So then we get to the cultural and generational context, and it's like Jessica. See, the cool thing about Jessica. Here's the thing: there's one book that they did with that DC put out with Jessica. It was a young adult book that is the one Jessica Cruz comic I haven't read because the concept and book is asinine. So what they did for those not out of continuity young adult books, of course, because Jessica is a Latina, they had to use her to comment on the whole illegal immigration border control thing in 2017. And I found that to be very superficial. So I'm like, oh, because she is the Latina lantern, you're like, okay, just use her, just use her. And I go, what, really?
I believe Kyle Rayner is well, he is
He,
Latino. He's
mhm.
Latino. So I would say that actually the idea of that does make sense. It's just the execution.
Yeah, which
That
I'm
can
like,
be
what does?
something that
Yeah, go ahead.
that actually can be something with these characters. Even with, how we talk about Diana, there are certain things of,
Well,
you know, um not too much of real world events because they can't actually have this fictional solution of it, because that is not our reality. But to have them go through it a little bit and basically acknowledge it as these characters who represent that sort of um, injustice, especially within a culture, then yeah, that makes
well,
total sense. It's just
let
the
me clarify.
execution.
It wasn't like they had her comment on it. No, in this story, she was the illegal immigrant.
Right, that's what I'm saying, is that she can be. That is just the execution of it, of how did, you know,
But
it's a little bit more serious.
the problem is you can't have these superheroes in that like oppressed state because she has a magical Green Lantern ring.
Well, here's the thing. With that, it, there are certain things that you don't want these characters to be just over the top as a fantasy. They are power fantasies, and yeah, they should be able to get through anything. But in order for us to really resonate with them, they have to go through things that at least somewhat of uh, in within reality.
No,
So
I know that, but it's like there's no way Jessica would face any issues because let's say a patrol helicopter comes at her, she just swipe it away with the ring. That's
well,
the problem.
that's the thing.
It's like John Kent protesting climate change.
Well, that was terrible. That was just a gimmick thing.
Hmm.
And or okay, if you want to take John. John was in a black hole. He was tormented by his father's doppelganger and stuck in a volcano for several years. And then now he's just happy go lucky. There's no way you can be tormented like that and then act like everything is normal. That is the power fantasy. And and that is why John, he's labeled as a nepo baby. He is very one dimensional. No one really cares for John unless it pertains to him with Damien or something.
Hmm.
Um, or you can say with Clark, what happened in Action Comics, New 52. He was, being that they saw him as an alien, quote unquote, literal and metaphorical, they took him in within the government and tortured him. That is a literal and metaphorical, you know, sort of example
Mhm.
of what happens in reality. We saw in Truth, terrible story, of course, but what did, at least in Action Comics, he was protesting, had the people on the street, um, had the chain and everything like that. Uh, in 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 a sense, it came at a time where you had the Black Lives Matters, type of
Mhm.
thing. So that resonates with that. Wonder Woman is
Well,
still
here,
that her story.
here's the thing on that. No, that I'm in favor of. It's just I'm like I don't like it's like here's the thing here if I were doing Green Lanterns, it's like here's the way you could do the same like police brutality story, let's say, and not do it what I mean, and do it in a way that's like in my mind more successful. Do it like the way the classic X-Men did it. You have some Green Lanterns that like abuse people. That's your story. And then like Hal or Jessica have to take him down. That's the way you do that. Because here's the way. Here's the thing. To do these stories effectively in ways that won't close off the audience to what you're trying to say, you have to do it in a way where it can be just interpreted as a fun story. Because then it's like, if it's like, because like in that case, I could just say, oh, it's a cool story about Green Lanterns that went rogue. Or you can interpret it as an analogy for police brutality, because obviously the Green Lanterns are the police force. So that's the way that these creators should do it. It requires yes, Cameron, it is kind of the thing, but I'm just saying if you had other Green Lanterns that did it, and that's my point. If you do it in a way that's like not in your face, the audience is more likely to like accept the message that you're saying or listen to the message than if you go no to take it down your throat, for lack of a better term.
I get that, but at the same time, I mean, you have to have some realism within here, just a little bit. And I mean, again, we saw that with New 52 Clark in Action Comics, um, within the Truth arc, when exactly that analogy of police brutality and the
Mm-hmm.
protests when he punched the corrupted cop. Yes, that wasn't an actual cop, it was actually some type of shadow demon thing or whatever, but
With
that is
that, you can
how
take that as an
you
analogy. Yes, exactly.
exactly, that is how you pretty much marry the fantasy and reality.
That's what
It
I'm talking about. But with the Jessica book that I mentioned earlier, I think the problem with that is it took it too far in the this is exactly the way it is now. That's why I can't buy it that someone that has a Green Lantern ring would suffer from that. If they had it or like or the way they could have done it, have it where like she's just flying and she sees some people like or she's flying along the border for some reason. She sees like some people being chased by border patrol and she intervenes. That way you could kind of still have that story. Use her as the vehicle to show that story, but you're not like you're doing it in a way that doesn't take me out of the story, if that makes sense.
yeah, I think what they wanted to do with that is not have her just have the solution of using the ring though.
Mhm.
It was more so like she has to go through this because what if she didn't have the ring? What was she going to do? It's basically like a survival instinct. You know, even with the Amazons, they are these immortal women, but they've been traumatized, been abused and everything like that. But what are they going to do, if they were just these strong, um, powerful, women or whatever, that trauma that they've went through, it still has something to do with connecting with the character on a real level. And I think again, you have to have it, as we always say, balanced out
Yep.
and pretty much again find that that middle ground to marry that realism with fantasy. So
Exactly.
again, it has all something to do with the execution of the story.
Yeah, yeah. You need nuance, in other words, is what you need. Because here's the thing: too many times, too many of these writers try and go too black and white with these complex issues.
Exactly.
Yeah. So then we get to their impact on DC and popular culture, because the cool part about this is, like, again, right. So did you know? So remember when before Gunn took over, they were making a Lantern show.
Yeah, I did.
She was supposed to be one of the stars.
And also Alan Scott.
It was going to be her, Simon, and Alan Scott were going to be like, Alan Scott stuff would have taken place in the past, because obviously World War II, and she would have taken place in the modern day. And I'm like, you mean I was
Honestly,
this
that would
close
have
to
been
seeing?
so.
I was so close to seeing my girl on screen, Britt.
But it was also about diversity, and even though you have Jon Stewart, it just really feels like, okay, so you go with the military guys, and it's kind of like, we're again, they already have Hal and John interchangeable at certain points. So it's
Mhm.
kind of like, okay, so you are literally just focusing on these two guys will have a past or within the military, and Tom King is within this too, so of course he's going to
Mhm.
implement that. But it, yeah, where's the diversity within that? The actual Lantern characters. I think they have Kilowog in there, I think.
Mhm.
But other than that, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Jessica and Alan,
It's
you know.
inevitable they're gonna have there's no way they don't bring Jessica in, in the actual DCU. I just hope she won't be written by Tom King, because trust me, this is the character. You think it's bad with Wonder Woman? This is the character that we must keep out of his hands forever.
Oh yeah, because she already has PTSD, so he's going to
Oh,
like maximize it.
oh yeah. Battle Goon says, good to see you guys. What's up? I love Jessica Cruz, but I'm still upset DC is planning to do a Jessica Cruz series before Wonder Woman. Yeah, but trust me, I still have yet to see if that series is going to be good. But Harley is an abuse victim psycho. Cruz is PTSD. Starfire is naive. All get shows before Wonder Woman. But Wonder Woman is receiving a movie and a show, actually, in terms of Paradise Lost and the Wonder Woman movie. So we'll see what happens with that. But anyway, actually, Britt, did you have something to add?
Oh, I was gonna say, well, we don't know about the show. It's very much to be determined, really.
Oh yeah, of course. But let me put it this way: I'm trying to be hopeful for the people, Britt. But by the way, this moment right here for Jessica Cruz, I want to tell you the context behind that panel, because that is perfect. This is the first volume of that Rebirth book, and Jessica's thing, she hasn't made a construct first. I mean, yet, and she is like, because she's frightened. She just got this ring. The whole volume, she is thinking, how can I do this? Because like I'm afraid to be in public right now. It's like her sister drags her out of the house to go to like a soccer game or go to the grocery store. So she is shaking. She's afraid. Kill Atrocitus and the Red Lanterns attack, and Jessica's like, so she's like retreated, and she focuses, and then she makes a construct. The other panel is later on the presentation, so I'll point it out. Actually, it's right here. She makes this. She makes a small flame, and that flame alone is enough for her to go, I made a construct. I can do this. I'm a Green Lantern. And she bursts out of the Red Lantern construct and kicks Atrocitus's ass. Like, that small construct is simple enough. So she says, I made my first construct. I am a Green Lantern.
See, those like empowering moments, very simple, or it matters.
Yeah, and by the writer was Humphreys, good because he had the Green Lantern series, and then Venditti was doing Hal Jordan, the Hal Jordan series. But anyway, so it's like with Wonder Woman, obviously she's the inspiration to like all of the female superheroes, and again, in my mind, she is the most important DC character of their entire lineup. Britt, pop quiz. Why do I think Wonder Woman is the most important DC character?
Isn't it because she balances? Well, she is the goddess of truth, or the embodiment of,
Yes, and
truth.
you can't be a good superhero unless you can't have true justice unless there's truth, and you can't be hopeful unless there's truth to unless you're truthful to yourself. So everything revolves around truth.
Huh? Well, Superman isn't a very good hero then.
He's not true to himself. I know, right? That's good. Thank you. And it's like it's like she had a successful movie, Wonder Woman, and you have she is the epitome of balance for like for these characters, and she is the inspiration throughout all of these. Yeah, you should have said, Britt, wonder why Diana is my favorite character. I joke. I know. But and with Jessica, yeah, with Jessica, you have moments like that where it's these small things, and it's like the way I kind of attribute it is like, you know how you're having a crap day, Britt, where like everything seems to be like unloading on you, and then one thing goes right. And that one thing going right is the thing that motivates you to keep going.
Right. I have had plenty
That's
of those.
Jessica. That is Jessica Cruz. And again, that is why she is like there's an entire generation, Britt. So you know how everyone has like, oh, Hal Jordan's my Green Lantern, John Stewart's mine, Kyle's mine. There is an entire generation of fans, Britt, that now will say Jessica Cruz is their Green Lantern, and that is awesome.
It sure is.
Because if there's one character that deserves it, that has earned that, it is her. And it's like because first her impact, the first female Green Lantern, mind you. By the way, I'll tell you a funny story. So she actually, all right. So she has a contradictory origin, much like Wonder Woman. What I mean by that is, all right. So remember when we did the Hal and Carol episode, and I mentioned how Jeff's last issue of Green Lantern was like a issue that takes place far in the future, and it's someone saying like, "Where are they now?" Well, this is technically her first appearance. There's a shot. It's of Simon looking at Jessica, but all we see is Jessica's fist. And all it says is that Jessica, the first human Green Lantern that received the ring when the Justice League was killed by Darkseid.
Oh, this is during Rebirth, though. So
no, New 52, Britt. New 52.
Oh, really?
And then the Justice League book is where they actually gave her actual origin.
Well, that is where, a lot of things started getting all wonky.
That is true, but I just love that she has the contradictory origin. NJ, no, don't say that. Don't say that. There's plenty of the current generation that care about Wonder Woman. I think you're going a little too far with that. But yeah,
I care for Diana, but at the same time, it's the fact that DC is giving her little, and I mean very little to nothing,
crumbs.
That it's not even crumbs.
Stale bread?
That's still no. It's kind of like dust bunnies or something. But she doesn't really have anything to where you feel connected to her, and honestly, that is the fault of DC. That's the fault of the fans too, because they complain a lot, unnecessarily. The thing about Tom King is definitely a lot, complaining is very justified. But any other small things, that very you know, that doesn't hurt her character. It's more of like the Azarella run. Diana herself wasn't badly written. The only thing that really, you know, really kneecapped that run was the depiction of the Amazons. But
Mm-hmm.
again, it was the whole we're trying to go with the realism, mythology, and stuff like that. And I think it went on too far. What you needed to do with that was show the Amazons were fighting fire with fire, and they
Mm-hmm.
went too far. They were scorned. They were, just everything that they went through, it went too far. But they had to go through and learn something from that, you know, and slowly make them the Amazons that we know to be DC Amazons. And I think that
Exactly.
that's the part that was missing. But honestly, I think with Diana, Azzarello was trying to do that, but he got so caught up in his own. He wanted this mythology type. Uh, he cared more for the gods. But if you did say more in line of Blood of Zeus and really showed more of that balance, within that and the realism and how the Amazons become DC Amazons, then it would have been more well received. And also, yeah, the main line and stuff. But at the same time, we see now with the absolute verse that because the absolute verse is like this shiny new little thing, the main verse is flopping. So
Oh
again,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
DC fans cannot say, "Oh, if they just had New 52 as another verse." No, first at that time they couldn't have two uh, different verses side by side because your original verse was already in the gutter, and they needed to put all their resources in this one thing and just completely reboot to really get that revenue that they needed in order for WB to get off their backs, and all
Exactly.
of that.
Exactly.
So
And reportedly, the Absolute universe did that as well. Too bad it sucked up all the other data. And by the way, hey, what's up, Lewis? No, you made it just in time. We're talking about Wonder Woman and Jessica. But yeah, so then we get again, it's like the idea of, particularly for like young female fans, and this is primarily Britt's line instead of mine because obviously I'm a dude, but it's like having two very prominent characters that are universally accepted, that's got to feel good.
yeah, you need in this sort of male dominated genre of superheroes and the comic book fandom, you do need female characters who stand out, and female characters who stand out that aren't tied to the men, that aren't just love
Mm-hmm.
interests. They are independent characters and powerful characters themselves. The only thing, again, is that these female characters need to have a little bit more respect, because we haven't really seen Jessica within the past few years or so, except for Jeremy Adams' book. But it's kind of like it's a little even okay. Even in the Justice League book, we haven't really seen her in that.
Yeah, that's true.
But in Diana too, because she's stuck in a corner with Tom King's um self-inserted obsession with Steve. Diana, she can't really strive outside of that. So whether it's the Justice League book, whether it is whatever DC's announcements, lack of Wonder Woman for NYCC, or the fact that even this KO event, we didn't see, and gladly, uh, baby Annabelle, but
Baby,
it's
yeah.
still the but it's still the fact that we know that she was mentioned before Snyder had that change. So but honestly her character still just
It's
feels
even
like
better though, Britt. She's the first character to be unreferenced And by the way, Lewis, new 52, brother, new 52. And by the way, Battlegoon says, Tom King and Steve Trevor in King's Mind. I hate making that joke as someone who thinks Steve has a place in Wonder Woman. Arguably, he doesn't anymore.
Yeah, I mean, unless he is an old man married to Etta and like 2 steps away from kicking a bucket, then yeah, he does not have a place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. Yeah. Oh, and Grail as well as But it's like it's also the ideas that again they made Jessica so like obviously like relatable that even I identify with her because I felt fear and stuff. So that's where you really get someone. And that's where you properly do it when you have a character that is diverse, but it's also what makes her a character is something that literally everyone can identify with. And that is why Jessica Cruz is getting such a heavy push, which I love so freaking much. It means so much.
Right. I mean, again, if you have that, even Zatanna is getting pushed.
Yeah.
Definitely need Vixen to have more push. Black Canary, I would say she's still stuck with Green Arrow. I mean, even the new Sirens book is about her being engaged or getting ready for her wedding with Oliver. So, they need to do better with these female characters. But yeah, Jessica and Diana are basically the examples of that you can do better with these female characters.
Exactly. So then we get to our next slide, which is talk about the warrior and the survivor. Now, fun fact, this is the very first image we see of Jessica Cruz in DC Comics because this is immediately after the Forever Evil event has happened. And the Volthoom ring has appeared before her and basically takes her over.
Right. It was Forever Evil. Yeah.
It was like the very end of Forever Evil. Like one of the teases of the future is what happens with Jessica.
Right. But we don't see her again, I think,
until
like,
the next arc. It was because
it was the very next arc.
Yeah, because the next arc, the first couple issues was dealing with her because she was like being like Power Ring and like causing destruction. So the Doom Patrol and the Justice League fought to like get control of her. And then actually it's Batman that like it gets through to her because he identifies with her as someone that has gone through a sort of trauma as well.
Well, that makes sense. It wasn't
that's the proper way to use Batman to solve something.
Yeah, it wasn't just okay, of course he's Batman, so have him. No, he does pretty much resonate and have that same connection with fear and trauma.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing here. It's like the thing about Jessica also, and you say it on here, is that she really embodies the whole, no matter how bad something is, how bad like one's like condition is, or like no matter how dark things are, you can like rise above that.
Right. And we need more of the of that message, especially in this climate.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, yeah, exactly. And it's like again, it's like they are. It's in many ways, Jessica Cruz is the Wonder Woman of the Green Lantern Corps because she represents those very similar ideas that Diana does. Because Diana also represents like resilience and strength and stuff, and Jessica is also kind of that. Plus, she is the first lady of the Green Lantern Corps now, so there you go.
Right.
So I really like that. So then now we're going to talk about her origin. All right. So once again, as I mentioned before, Power Ring is killed by Sinestro. The ring which is sentient and controls people. The mirror of the Green Lanterns is, so the Green Lantern Corps normally goes to someone that has the ability to overcome fear. The power ring goes to someone that is the most afraid. So it showed up with to Jessica and took her over, and actually literally when it hopped onto like her finger, it says "you belong to me now." And then she was like being essentially like controlled by like the ring. And it's also kind of interesting. And you mentioned that I didn't notice that. You mentioned on the slide, she is the first Green Lantern since Kyle that wasn't like a soldier or anything like that, because Kyle was a comic book artist. Jessica is like just for lack of a better phrase, just a woman, essentially. You know what I mean?
Right. She wasn't a part of, and that's the whole thing. It's not her being part of some type of government affiliate or whatever. She even Kyle, I would say, being an artist, I mean, even that strays from what DC is so hell bent on having their characters. In some way they have to be, within that business or government type, association. You have Bruce as this billionaire, with Wayne Tech. You have Diana. She's not so much within the government, but at times they still try to have her within the military because her connection with Steve.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if they want to make her old as dirt, being in wartime, so she has to be, within the military that way too. But other than that, she's really not. And then Clark, he's a reporter. I mean, he has to deal with the government and everything like that and the business. But even that is a little off, just solely as his connection with Lois being that she's an army brat or something like that. But just straying away from all of that, Kyle, Diana, Jessica, they just have that uniqueness to them that's not so much as, like I said, in that government, military, or business type association.
Yeah, exactly. So and again with with Jessica, and actually her co-creator was not Doug Mahnke, Ethan Van Sciver. He's listed as the co-creator of hers. Well, it may have been him as well. I know Ethan Van Sciver was included in that, but yeah, it's all good. But so yeah, and it's like, so she's taken over by the ring and puppeted, and essentially essentially she is like rescued by the Justice League and they bring her back, and obviously they don't know what by the way, can I say I love that to make her different from the other Lanterns. Not only does she not wear a mask, but she has the Lantern logo on her eye. I love that. That is just so cool.
That distinction is really nice, because again, a lot of the Lanterns, they don't really have anything unique except for Guy, I would say. He has that unique of the jacket or whatever, but everyone else is just in a uniform,
Yeah.
So for her to have the logo on her eye and the headband, that gives her a distinctive look.
Yeah, well, the headband was just for her power ring look, but I see what you're saying there. But
they need to bring it back because that was yeah.
I could see that. I think that could be kind of fun. That could be kind of fun. And again, she kept trying to like resist. She kept trying to like control the ring. That was like her early origin story. And I remember reading her for the first time because again, I was reading Justice League at the time. Again, because I came in at the new 52, and I was like, how are you go? I didn't think she was gonna last, Britt. I thought she was just a gimmick character because I'm like, okay, what are you gonna do? Keep going, keep going. And then as soon as like Dark Side War hit, I'm like, ooh. But anyway, so okay, so this is what I mean when the ring like controlled her. Literally, Volthoom is puppeting her like she's essentially like on marionette strings essentially. So that's that image when Volthoom takes over Jessica and Grid takes over Cyborg, and then that's when she would eventually make the choice to essentially sacrifice her life for Barry and then end up becoming a Green Lantern. So what you have, so she's able to like she's training and learning how to control the ring, and then moving on. Then she becomes a Green Lantern ring in Dark Side War because the ring comes to her. And even first off, Hal and John and all the other Lanterns are like, why? At this point, they're like, why is there so many humans at Green Lantern and Sector 2814 on Earth? Why? Because normally there's two. You know the reasoning? Jeremy Adams explained this as well. So, do you know why there are so many human Green Lanterns, Britt?
No.
Because on Earth, there is a backup central power battery. Because if that battery is destroyed, all the Green Lanterns have no power. So, there's a backup, essentially a second central power battery on Earth to keep the Lanterns going. So, that thing is that essential. So that's why Earth keeps getting their own Green Lanterns.
Well, I thought that it would have been just that it's a lot of people who have the power of will or something.
Well, in that case, what normally happens is that it waits until the lantern, until the current lantern dies, and then the next one comes in, and the next one. But normally, there's not like 5 or 6. But that's really the point. And Jessica is the one of the characters besides Aquaman that really came to her own in Rebirth. Yeah, I know everyone else sucked, but with this book, it was utterly incredible. So here's the thing. You mentioned that Jessica and Simon were antagonistic in the beginning. So you know what Hal does, because Hal at this point is the leader of the Lanterns. He literally takes their 2 central power batteries and merges them into one and says, okay, you 2 are partners now, and I'm going to make it so you have to actually be together in order to recharge your damn rings so you guys will stop fighting.
I think that I did skim through the first issue and did see that where Hal he came off like an older brother or uncle or something.
Yeah, exactly. Well, again, he's the leader of the Green Lantern Corps at this point. So he's like, I can't deal with this right now. It's like a father with his fighting kids. He's like, stop fighting. But yeah, so then she had the partnership with Simon, and Simon had his own like traumatic experience like with his origin. So it's really cool. It's like she got to like help him through that. And this is also again, so we'll get to the notable stories. So for the Red Lanterns, I'm going to start with Rage Planet. Rage Planet's the one where she is like, again, struggling to be a Green Lantern. And even Simon in his anger says like, you can't even make a construct. Why are you a Green Lantern? And she has this moment where she is like covered in fear, and she is like, she's doubting herself. And then she makes that small construct, And whenever you see the narration for a Green Lantern, when it says willpower spiking, that's when you know crap's about to go down. That's the you effed up like enemy of the Green Lanterns, because she completely beats the ever-loving snot out of Atrocitus and then saves Simon. The whole time she's like, I made a construct. It's so good, and that's one of my favorite parts. And again, it's like when I was reading that, I was like, wait, this is a Rebirth book? Because I'm not used to Rebirth not being superficial BS, Britt.
Well, they did have some things that were, okay. So
They
they
did,
they
yeah.
did have some gems. The only thing that was really just atrocious was Wonder Woman and Grandpa.
Oh yeah. All right. So they also have this other storyline where so her and Simon became the lanterns on the Justice League, and she again had a story where she was dealing with a lot of her own self-doubt, like stopping a terrorist. So okay, they had this weird thing, which is I could describe all of Rebirth like that. All right. So they have this stupid. This is going to make you go, what, Britt, when I tell you this? In Justice League Rebirth, I forget which arc it is, but at the end of it, Batman has to leave because he's overextending himself. It's actually I think it's actually the People versus the Justice League. And this is where he goes and forms the JLA with like Black Canary, Lobo, and Amari. But so for some reason, the writer, I'll check who the writer is in a second, has Jessica kissed Batman.
That was Priest.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I saw this and I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah, he was doing some of the most. He is very random, and I mean, he had. I think when he was writing Deathstroke, he wanted Damien to be his biological son. And
didn't he also have a scene where Wonder Woman is swimming with Aquaman and she sinks below the waves, and the implication?
well, that was
I thought that was Priest.
well, I don't know who that was, but yeah,
You
that
know what
was
I'm talking
referred
about,
to.
though.
Yeah, that was pre-52 though. But you did have, well, first of all, Priest has pretty much, confirmed that he does not like Diana. So he's going to
big
throw
surprise.
her, yeah, he's going to throw her under the bus. So what he did was he had Deathstroke also like fantasize that Diana ended up, with him or whatever. Damien was his son. He had Diana, of course, in Superman Lost, Lois says that she doesn't like Diana, and maybe it's because of the bathing suit or something like that. He also wrote the 18th letter, which you have Clark very jealous and basically, in a sense, shaming Diana, even though she didn't do anything.
Oh, I
Yeah,
know that
he was
story.
very jealous, thinking that she slept with another guy, so he was having a fit. But yeah, he is a very controversial writer, and he does it on purpose. So yeah, the whole kiss thing with Batman was definitely I just want a moment, within the story. And it was dropped pretty much right then. He even had Jessica go to the Wayne Manor and Selena open the door. She said Selena basically acted like, oh, that's just a normal thing or whatever. It's all good. And they, I guess, became friends. So it was really weird and unnecessary.
But yeah, but it's like, so continuing on with the story. They also had one where through time travel BS, Jessica and Simon traveled in the past to meet Volthoom, and they learned a little bit of Lantern history. And then they also, there was this cool story where Jessica and Simon have to, because Green Lanterns, here's the other similarity she has with Wonder Woman. Green Lanterns also have to be diplomats and resolve like disputes between cultures, which again, like Dana. So Jessica and Simon had to, because there were these two, if I remember correctly, there were two alien races that were at war, or that were close to getting at war, and Jessica had to like essentially like keep them from actually killing each other. So it's like she really matured in that way, and she and Simon actually became really close friends and partners. And actually, what's kind of funny, the Ring actually developed its own personality to the point where it calls her Jaybird.
Really?
Like her Green Lantern ring. Yeah, I love it. That's so good. But so then she was actually on her own Justice League with Azrael. Oh boy. Darkseid, Starfire, and Victor Stone. That's quite the lineup of Justice League.
Yeah, it was very. At the time, it just feels like DC was trying to do things differently and try to like put these characters together, make it seem like it was back to being like pre-52, you know, post-crisis, where they did have random team ups. So yeah, this, I would say that Jessica and Starfire, that was a nice team up, or if they were to have a friendship, it would have been something nice with them.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I'm not hating it because it's like, oh, that's actually sounds pretty dope. And it's like, this is also where like, this shows how powerful she is. You have it right here. She briefly died in combat, but her ring resurrected her. So that her will was so powerful that her ring was able to resurrect herself. And I think she later became an Omega Lantern, which is essentially like she doesn't need the ring, but obviously she resolved and became a Green Lantern again. But it's like they keep doing stuff that it's like, here's the thing. Ordinarily with a character, the danger is if you keep doing all of this like escalating stuff, everyone's like, oh my gosh, so now you make her the most powerful. But the cool thing about Jessica is they're giving her feats that other Lanterns have done before. And the reason why that's good is, again, people can't claim that they're trying to make her better than Hal or Guy or John. The reason why I keep harping on this is because this is why I'm like, creating diverse characters is not hard. Jessica proves it.
Right, it's not hard. It's just
you have to put the work in.
Exactly. It's just investing and just being creative. I mean, this is what this job is, you know.
You're literally called a comic book creative. That's in the name.
Right, you are supposed to be creative.
That's like saying that's like saying I'm a Navy SEAL, but I didn't know I would have to go into water.
Yeah, I mean, some people think that it is easy to write these characters, even if you do have a fascination with them and, you know, you want to have these ideas. The execution of that idea, and we know that, you know, quite well, it doesn't go the way you would think it would go, you know, in your head, translated to on paper. But if you truly invest, though, within your own, you know, give the time and effort, it can translate to even whether it is the exact, you know, idea that you had in your mind, or even better, you know. But some of these creatives, it's kind of like they take 100 step back, and
more like 200, Britt. Let's be honest,
well,
200
or 1,000, you know, like
particularly if your last name is King
or Rucker.
Or Rucker, yeah. Rucker, he trips back. He doesn't just walk back; he trips back.
Yeah. So, and honestly, that also comes from stubbornness and just having this narrow-minded um view of the characters and just I want what I want, regardless of anyone else or if this is controversial, if this basically put the character into a corner or anything like that. They don't care. They just see their own vision. And, or just like James Gunn, he has a vision, or maybe not because it seems very blurry,
Mhm.
but whatever he comes up with is kind of like, okay, maybe that's good for unknown characters, that he's used to, or his own OC characters or whatever. But when you have an actual IP and characters that are global known, you know, they need to be recognizable and
Mhm.
they need to resonate, and yeah, you can maybe teeter the line of doing something a little bit of a risk, but at the same time, they have to have that same recognition at some point. And I think that that is what's lacking currently.
Yeah, exactly. So then you have Future State and Infinite Frontier, where where like you had the alternate future, where like she is like the sole Green Lantern after the core collapses. She later became a Sinestro Corps member briefly, but I see. Here's the thing. I get the idea of making her a Sinestro Corps member because of her link to fear, but the problem is, Britt, do you know what this is? So with the Green Lantern ring, it says you have the ability to overcome great fear. Do you know what a Sinestro Core ring tells you? It tells you you have the ability to instill great fear. That's not what Jessica wants to do at all. So that's why when DC did that, I was like, well, that sucks. Like, what are you doing?
Well, this is a future state, infinite frontier, and this is when, again, they are back to throwing, you know, a mixture of baby vomit, diapers, and other stuff to the wall.
And Battlegoon has the greatest thing. Jessica's too nice to instill fear. She's like a superhero puppy. She's the puppy of the
Aw.
DC universe. That's good. And by Battlegoon says, I feel like I don't know enough about Ruck and how bad he messed up. Well, all right. So his Cheetah series didn't even chart anymore. And he has a fetish about Diana with the crazy cat lady. It, I could go on for hours and hours and hours. He contributed to getting a bunch of creators canceled. There's his ledger is very blood red. But anyway, by Britt, do you have anything to add about how much Ruckus sucks?
He's very much a diva in the worst way possible.
Yeah, exactly. By what he shipped Cheetah with Diana. Yeah, he made it so he basically was asked about it. And he said, "Oh yeah, Cheetah's in love with Diana." And I go, "Since when?"
Right. And the only thing really that he's warping that because, okay, first of all, Barbara was introduced by Perez, and she was like a 40, 50-year-old woman who, as an archaeologist, wanting, fame and knowing Diana, she wanted to use her, basically to have the um, evidence of the gods and the Amazons and all of that, and get artifacts, ancient things like that. And when um when I think it was the lasso, she touched the lasso, and of course, the truth was told. Then Diana was heartbroken because she felt like she really had a friend who was basically in a. You have Julia, who's Diana's adoptive mother. But at the same time, because Diana was still the youngest of all the Amazons, they are all her mothers. So she really connects
Mm-hmm.
to older women, and even in man's world. So you have Julia as her mother figure. You have Mindy, even if she was her PR agent, she was still an older woman that Diana, kind of grew close to. Then you have from Byrne, you have Cassie's mom, and then it was Barbara. Again, Barbara was 40, 50 years old. She and Diana was fascinated to think that she could learn from her. And then she was heartbroken. Well, the fans actually warped that into thinking Diana had this romantic love even in the Perez run.
Oh my
And
God.
then Rucka changing a lot of, if you analyze Rucka's
Rebirth run.
rebirth and even his post-crisis run, there's a lot of rewrites and destruction within Wonder Woman's like world. It's
He
like
also
he
made it, by the way. So not only does Diana sleep with Amazons, she slept with practically everyone on the island. So he made it basically where she was sleeping on the island with people that A, are centuries older than her, and B, are essentially her mothers and aunts.
yeah. And the reason why they said that is because they didn't want her to be, in a sense, innocent when she got off the island, you know, which is very
And I'm like,
misguided.
bro. And plus,
But
his reasoning for her being bi is like, of course, she comes from an island of only women. And Britt, we both know how very superficial that is.
right, that honestly, that's an insult because, again, they are her mothers and aunts. And Earth One is pretty much the worst, best example of that, where
hmm
you have Artemis kiss Diana, but before the kiss, she says, "Oh, I saw you as a baby." So you are essentially talking about the grooming aspect of that, and it's just a lot that goes into that that you don't want to have with Diana. But yeah,
And,
so
and here's the funny part. People will say, well, she's from Greece. And I go, actually, she's not. The, if you're looking at where Themyscira is technically in the Turkey area. And B, Themyscira, while similar to Greece, is not exactly Greek culture.
yeah, again, is very
Very stupid.
multi-culture, yeah, within that. And again, that is the double standards of the fans. When it's something that they like, they want to make the excuse of it and talk about the realism of it. You know, that is when realism is accepted. But when it's
hmm
something that they don't like or anything, and yeah, it is justifiable to hate the way the New 52 Amazons were. But if you want to say that, well, the Amazons were together or whatever, you want to say, then if you say that is realism, then at some point you have to accept the New 52 Amazons being realism.
Exactly. Like if we're going with like mythological accuracy, where's the line? So anyway, now here's a good story. This is the slide I talked about earlier. So the Jeremy Adams era of Green Lantern encompasses two books, Green Lantern and Green Lantern Corps. Green Lantern's about Hal, Green Lantern Corps is about everyone else. Now, the great thing that Adams has managed to do is he's given every Green Lantern something cool to do that fits with their characters. So what does Jessica Cruz do? So she's the leader of the Lanterns, and Joe pulls her out of her office. And it's like, you haven't been in your office for a while. Come on, I have a situation that I think you are perfect for. So they go to Mogo, the Green Lantern planet. And Britt, Mogo is actually a sentient planet. He's a planet that actually is alive.
Oh.
So he previously had like died in like a previous story. And this is the thing. This is what sold me on Jeremy Adams writing Jessica Cruz. Because all it took was one issue. Joe brought Jessica Cruz here because Jessica understands trauma. And this is the speech that Jessica gives. Mogo, I know what you're going through. You don't have to do this alone. Something bad happened and you want to retreat to where you feel safe because you don't know who you can trust. I know because is my fear every day. But instead of closing myself off from everyone, I choose to let people in. Sure, you can hide away forever, but that's just existing. You can't truly live until you open yourself up. And she has a little tear there. And I'm like, as soon as I read that, I was like, yeah, he gets it. That is the, because Mogo was like practically blown up and like brought back together. He was like turned into a Red Lantern or something like that. The point is, he went through a lot, and then this happens, and Jessica's like, "No, I know it's the easy thing to seal yourself up, and you're just going to exist. But in order to actually live, you have to open up." And I'm like, yes.
Yeah, because she is, and I would say they need
Exactly.
more stories like that. They need
Yep.
more, especially with Jessica overcoming everything, and she is the voice of that.
Yep. Some way she's the mentor. As soon as I saw that, and I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta show Britt this because she will love that. Because that is what that, because it later on it's like Joe. So the way Joe said is like, hey, let's go fly. So Joe represents it like they just happened to show up on in here and run into Mogo, but it really Joe intended for Jessica to show up because Jessica was doubting her abilities as the leader of the Lanterns. And then Joe goes, "No, this is why we voted you to be the leader of the Lanterns. It was for this it was for situations just like this."
Right. And again, to have other characters, they're not mouthpieces,
Nope.
but they are genuinely written as, again, that support.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like every single issue of Jeremy Adams' Green Lantern has been stellar. And by the way, Lewis, I don't necessarily know the origin for Mogo. As far as I know, he's just existed. And fun fact, so the Mogo's role in the Green Lantern Corps is whenever like a ring is brought to another, like whenever a ring is available, Mogo is the one that like sends the rings to people. In other words, he directs the rings on who to go to.
Huh,
So he actually plays a very vital role in Green Lanterns.
that's neat.
Yeah. So now let's talk about her powers and abilities. So obviously she has the ring, which can manifest whatever she wants, and she has the energy projection, and she particularly has like the resistance to fear because of everything she has gone through. And here's the cool thing. And this is why I will never accept that the Green Lantern movie is horrible. I mean, Britt, you know this too, because the scene when Hal goes, I can't do this job because I'm afraid. And then Carol goes, wait. What does that have to do with it? And then Hal says, because the one thing you're supposed to be as a Green Lantern is fearless. Fearless is part of the job description. And then through the conversation is like, it's like Hal says, they said the ring chose me for a reason that it could see something that I don't. And then Carol says, yeah, I see it. You have the way you just keep getting to that cockpit because you're like afraid, because you're not, because well actually no, it's like she goes, you don't think your father was afraid? And then Hal says, well, if he was afraid, he had a way of not showing it. And then Carol goes, yeah, well, there's a word for that. It's called courage, and you have it. The ring didn't choose you because you were fearless. It shows that you could overcome fear in order to accomplish a mission. And I go, that's why I love that Green Lantern movie. God damn it. Because of that moment right there.
I mean, honestly, it was done in, a time where they really didn't have superhero movies in the sense of WB and the budget and the acting was okay. The I honestly don't know why it's panned as much as it is.
Mostly the CGI and the suit being all CGI, but they did that because they wanted it to be like out of energy, because that's technically what the suit's made of. And I think it's because instead of making a mask and putting on his face, they tried to CGI it. But it's like, besides that, I'm like, hey, what's up, Anthony? The plot is actually very much a Green Lantern plot. So yeah, I'm like, I don't understand why that movie isn't as appreciated as this. A fun fact, Britt, among Green Lantern fans, I mean fans of the Green Lanterns, it is very much appreciated. It's the outside of it's the general DC fans that don't like it. Isn't that
I
funny?
mean, right, because some of the movies that they have now, the graphics and stuff isn't,
They're not that better. So I'm like,
exactly.
so it's and Britt, it's like it's like you watched that movie immediately after our episode and you enjoyed it.
Right. So
There
it's
you go.
I don't know. It is what it is with the fans. They don't know what they like or don't.
Ain't that the truth? So you have personality and themes, and Jessica's main thing is overcoming fear, and that's the thing. That's what makes her the best Green Lantern, because that is the number one thing you're supposed to be able to do, because that's what willpower is. That's why you can justify her bringing herself back to life through sheer willpower and stuff, because the amount of fear that this woman deals with on a daily basis and she keeps getting back up. She is the epitome of that all-star Superman scene where Superman says, "You are so much stronger than you think you are." If there's one character that embodies that, it is Jessica Cruz right there.
If anything, I would see Jessica doing that scene more. I mean,
Ooh.
with than Superman, because honestly, that it has taken into this whole hope core thing where Superman has to be, um, like everything that he does is perfect, and he kind of have a silver spoon in a
Mm-hmm.
sense, or everything is, given to him on a platter. So honestly, his preaching and stuff doesn't it just doesn't resonate like a character, you know, that Jessica is, because
Yeah,
she
exactly.
actually has gone through it. So she can, yes, you do have people talking people down on certain things and they try to, you know, help when they can. But the way that they present Superman is that he is supposed to just be this, oh, everything is going to be okay, when, yeah, he can only say that because he gets everything,
Mm-hmm.
but when we have a Superman that actually does go through things, then he's about to turn into a tyrant.
Yeah, exactly. And Barry Lewis, yes, I have heard of the Green Lantern game, and that's going to be a Comics League gaming segment at some point. And it's like, so she has the empathy thing, and again, it's like it's like she's also the character that I wonder if a lot of veterans like identify with, because of like her overcoming PTSD through all this. So that would be actually very. I'll ask my for friends who have served in that, and it's like. And that's the thing. It's like, and with Jessica, here's the thing, and you actually bring up a great point on that. It's like, through her overcoming fear, she demonstrates that she is one of the most human DC characters like ever.
Yeah, and it's not about human actually, all of the characters are human in that they have that emotion or whatever. It's just what they go through,
Mm-hmm.
though, that um i- in certain aspect you need a better character for that, and that's why I said that if anything, that would be a Jessica moment for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So then you have, to me, Jessica almost feels like a Marvel hero, flawed rather than the ideal. Yeah, exactly. But so it's like, but she still has the balance of having the powers of a god with that lantern ring. So then you have her appearances in other media. So we're gonna talk about the appearances in like movies and such. So the one of the things that really helps that helped her like gain more notoriety was her inclusion in the Justice League versus Fatal 5 movie. And NJ brought up earlier about Wonder Woman attacking her with the sword. Yes, that's out of character for main Diana, but as we have discussed many times before, this Wonder Woman is not the comic accurate Wonder Woman. Anyway, when it comes to Jessica Cruz, obviously you didn't have like the power ring like origin story. It was more like I think the way they did the origin is that she went through like seeing her friends get killed by like mob people that she just stumbled upon, and then she like fell off a cliff as she was backing away, and then the lantern ring saved her. So with this whole thing, she is like a member of the Legion of Superheroes, comes from the future, because she is like this being that's supposed to like, she is like essentially the chosen one, the last hope, if you will. And so you have this group called the Fatal Five, which like all the villains, and then of the Legion of Superheroes. So they come back because they're trying to free their teammates. And so Jessica has this moment where she goes through the same self-doubts of that I've brought up. And so there's this great moment where like she actually has a couple of badass moments. Like, so the Fatal Five like coerce her into bringing them to Oa because that's where two of their members are being held. So as they're approaching, like the Green Lantern coordinator comes on the radio and says, "You're approaching the way and by Anthony, yeah, that's kind of the way they did it in this movie." But so she's approaching, and then they're like, "Okay, so Green Lantern of 2814, we don't have you scheduled for approach. Please state your purpose." And then she goes, "Everything's all good. Code Green. I'm just bringing in some prisoners." What the Fatal Five didn't know, and what Jessica knows, is that Code Green is the code word for the Green Lanterns for lantern under duress. So that's why all the other lanterns were like, "Yep, bring her in, and then we'll deal with it." So she gets messed up, and her ring gets destroyed. But through willpower, she manages to repair the ring. And then what I love about this is, so she like faints. She wakes up back at her apartment, and the visual way they show this is so good. So the way they show, thanks, William, the way they show that she has the ability, the way they show that she is at that moment where she is like a capable character, where she like has overcome her fear, that's when the logo appears over her eye. Like they use that as, no, she is now that character.
Right. Actually, I'm going to watch that movie again.
You need to.
Because
for this reason alone, you would love that.
Yeah, because when it first came out, you didn't really, I guess it was, much of the focus was on Wonder Woman, to see how this is DCAU. So how is she going to be?
Except here's the thing. They have some undertones between Wonder Woman and Superman in this movie.
What's funny is that you wouldn't have thought that they were the closest ones, but they were. Like,
because here's why. This was originally not supposed to be in the DCAU.
Really?
It's like Justice League Crisis on Two Earths, which was except in reverse, because Crisis on Two Earths was supposed to be the movie between JL and JLU. This was originally thought up as an original story that's why, and they just like changed a lot of like at the last second they decided to place it in there. That's why you have there are a couple of moments. I mean, Superman and Wonder Woman aren't, they don't say Superman and Wonder Woman are together, but there's this one scene where there are like, is there something going on there? So I'm like, that's the other saving grace of this movie. Oh, there was this great moment. So Miss Martian makes her debut in this, and Batman is her like field training officer. So it's this great moment where Miss Martian says, "We make a great team," and then Batman says, "I don't work with teenagers." She changes into Robin, and then Batman goes, "Point taken."
Yeah, that was a very interesting, choice to have Batman more as a mentor,
Mhm.
like in within the movie. Um, but yeah, now I have to actually watch it to get a better understanding, at least of Jessica, you know,
Yeah.
in
Oh,
those
and
little moments.
Wonder Woman has this great moment where so the League shows up to like save Jessica from the Fatal Five, and then one of them is like, well, the ye old Justice League. Where's your friend?" Because they had previously fought and beaten up Superman, still lacking his wounds. And then Wonder Woman goes, I'm not sure who you are, but," and then they interrupt and says, "Ah, yes, the 21st century pleasantries. I am Mono, and Monar or something like that. This is Tharok, and this is," and then Wonder Woman goes, "Dead man walking." I'm like, okay, that's good. I love that. That's great. I'll take that for this. And plus, this is sure they truncate the origin for Cruz, but they do like they get the gist of it, and that's the thing. I get that they couldn't do the the power ring thing, so they took the gist. They took the meat and potatoes of it and represented properly. It's like, I'm fine if they make changes to characters as long as you get the core of the story. And I'm gonna compliment Bruce Timm. They
I was
nailed
gonna
it.
say that I'm so surprised that this is a Bruce Timm like production and it actually isn't offensive.
Yeah, and Wonder Woman is actually is like has a good mentorship moment of for Jessica. There's also this great moment. So the other character that like Jessica's helping is a Starboy from the Legion of Superheroes. So they go into his mind to help him because he's going through some stuff, and you see like statues of the Justice League. Batman looks at his and goes, "That looks nothing like me." And Batman has some really good moments. So then we get. So this is a TV show, and by Balgo and Sleep Well, man. So then you get. This is a TV show that Robert introduced me to, by the way. DC Superhero Girls. Despite what you may
Oh,
think,
yeah.
it's not as girly of a show as you would think.
It's
It's
not
not
as girly. It's just the fact that I would say that Diana really was over the top though.
a little bit. Yeah, I'll give you that. And it's like the reason why she escaped from Themyscira is because it was like rebellion. I'm like, well, that's where Tom King got that from. But it's like, and Jessica with this, apparently in this, she has a crush on Hal Jordan. But they're all high school kids, so it's like it's better, but it's like actually, here's the other thing, Britt. So she's the first female Green Lantern. Credit to them not putting her in a relationship with any of the other male Green Lanterns. You know the
True.
temptation was there. You know the temptation was there.
I mean, look at the new show. They are going to put her with Kyle. So
Yeah, but anyway, and Supergirl. Supergirl in the show is basically the Tom King Supergirl before the Tom King book came out. So I'm like, I'm not sure I like this. But besides, the one funny part is with Batman, no one can understand what he says because he talks a lot like this. He's like, it's like he mumbles in his bat voice the whole time. So I'm like, okay, that's good. And apparently Aquaman is like voiced by someone doing a Matthew McConaughey impression.
Really?
Like that's Aquaman, and then I'm like, okay, that's really funny. I love that. But basically, what this is Wonder Woman is mentoring the superhero girls, and it's because like Barbara Gordon is like a nerd, and she wants to like fight crime and stuff. So I'm like, okay, this is actually it for what it is.
And
It's
she's best friends with Harley.
yeah, for what it is. Okay, it's a fun little show. I'm fine with that. Let me put it this way: as long as just give Jessica Cruz more exposure, I'm fine with that.
But the thing also is that Diana, they tried to de-age her, and put her with it would have worked better if it was Donna.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, but it's like they wanted to have all of the big female superheroes, but as high school girls. Speaking of high school girls, so there's this one, which is a Lego project. I'm like, oh, this is why. This is where those really weird Lego figures came from. Because I'm not used to that. I'm like, that's interesting, and I'm like, okay, it's like I haven't seen this, but it's like, okay, so it's basically a continuation from the high school one. Have you seen this?
No.
Me neither. What I did see was this one in the Lego Aquaman movie, where she deals with her whole confidence issue. Yeah, exactly, Lewis. I'm like, wait, that's Lego? Yeah, exactly. But this one's really good because she's struggling and like she keeps screwing up, and it's like, but she's also like, because in many ways this is basically, yes, it's an Aquaman movie, but it's really a Jessica Cruz movie as well. And how it shows that like she's trying to not be like an embarrassment, and to prove herself as a member of the Justice League. And I really appreciate this. She has a fun team up with Mira, and I'm like, okay, that's good. That works. These Lego movies were actually really funny because they did the whole. So in one of the movies, they do the transfer over to everyone wearing the new 52 costumes by Vector Stone gets like dirt on all of their costumes, so they have to change. So he goes, "Hey, Superman, you're wearing your underwear on the inside of your pants now. Sweet." And so Lex assembles the Legion of Doom. You're gonna love this, Britt. So they have to break into Area 52. So Lex is like, so Black Manta goes, don't you mean Area 51? So Lex goes, no, this is a new Area 52. A new 52, if you will. So as soon as I hear that, I'm like, okay, I see what you're
Wow,
doing.
that is
Yeah,
so corny, but
exactly. And I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing.
I mean, I get what you're doing, but that is so corny. Like,
It's a
oh my
Lego
God.
movie, so I'm like, oh, that's the only joke that could only work in a Lego movie.
Yes.
But yeah, I love this. And by Britt, you should definitely watch this too, because this also has some cool mirror moments and Red Lantern stuff. So then we have the Shazam one, and I need to say, Jessica Cruz as a and Wonder Woman as a Shazam, that actually looks really cool. That actually looks really cool. I mean, I know Clunrad basically did that in like the end of like their run, but no, I like this a lot better.
Yeah, I would say that, well, I like Diana with the gold on, so it works for the
I'm
gold
fine
and
with that.
white.
Yeah, I would be in favor of that, but I haven't seen this one either, so I'm not really gonna like dwell on that. But
Yeah.
but that's kind of cool. I like this one. This one, so they also did a crossover with Teen Titans Go, which I'm like, yeah, the two that actually makes sense as one of them, by the way. And I think I think it's canon to one of their universes. I think it's canon to the I want to say that the crossover is canon to the Teen Titans Go universe. I could be wrong on that, but yeah, it's like
it's the Go.
yeah. But I'm like, of course, it's the two universes that were the more comedic takes on DC. I'm like, yeah, that works. Now, can I show you my least favorite depiction of Cruz?
Yeah.
The Super Pets. Because here's the thing.
Well, those
here's the thing.
ugly
Britt.
designs.
A, that, and B, there's nothing that's Jessica Cruz in this character. It's just Jessica Cruz in name only.
I mean, it was name only for all of them.
Yeah,
I don't. Yeah.
Thanks, Dwayne. But you could say Dwayne became a pebble with this. I'm only kidding. But so now let me tell you this. So Britt, have you seen Ruby before?
I have not seen the show itself, but only this crossover.
Which I can tell. So Ruby was good for a couple of seasons, and then it like. But anyway, this was good because it's like you have Jessica as a kid. For those that don't know, the league gets so the league and the Ruby team get sent into basically a Matrix style simulation. They don't have their powers, and then in the Ruby world, they have to use like what are called semblances, which is like their superpowers. Jessica can't use her ring yet. She loses her ring, so she doesn't know what her power is. But it turns out her power is basically just using willpower. And then they have a scene, of course. So where the Green Lantern oath. And anytime anyone says the Green Lantern oath, I always get jazzed up for some reason. But this one was great. And I'm like, she's like, no, I have to push on for my friends and for myself. And I'm like, oh, yes. See, whenever you see Jessica overcoming great fear, that's what you need. Not this, where she just does Green Lantern stuff. With this, she overcomes great fear. You need to do that. That's kind of part of her story.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, it was a crypto movie, and the main characters were crypto, the pets, the rest of the pets, and Superman. But honestly, you shouldn't have had the Justice League in there because the ugly designs, and they serve no purpose.
Oh, I remember at the end, Britt, when, of course, Black Adam and Black Adam's dog had to show up for like a stare down with Crypto and Superman.
Right.
Because Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson really wanted that Black Adam thing to turn out right. Anyway, so then you have Batman Ninja 2. And this was a version of it that, first off, I love. And they didn't really do the fear origin, but they kind of modified it a little bit so it still works. I love how sassy Jessica is in this movie, like where the plot is resolved and Batman gets a call that he's late with the Justice League, and Jessica goes, "I know you just got back from your time traveling adventure, but that's no reason to be late, Bruce." And I go, "Oh, Jessica Cruz is saying that to Batman. She's got some cojones." Oh, man. And then I love where Arthur goes, "I think I'm just going to stick to lake water. The ocean is so salty." And then Jessica's like, "You're really just figuring that out now?" I just love how they did this. And this is the funny part. So she has a teddy bear as part of her costume. And I was watching the special features of this movie. This is the greatest moment ever. So the character designer says he didn't know anything about Jessica Cruz. So DC requested that Jessica Cruz be the Green Lantern on this. And that's one of the best decisions DC ever made, is that they're pushing this character, but they're pushing her to project where she works. But anyway, so this is what the guy said. "So I didn't know anything about Jessica Cruz, so I did my research, and I read some comics about her. Then I saw she had a sidekick named Simon Bass."
That is crazy.
Robert and I found that out, and we just burst out laughing. Because before Jeremy Adams, that's what he was.
Yeah, that shows the lack of the lack of development for Simon, which is kind of sad.
Well, when he was created to be a plot device. It wasn't like they really had plans for him after.
Right.
But
True.
I just love that. That's why he's relegated to a teddy bear. But beyond that, the other thing that I love, and I said this when we reviewed the movie, I need to say this. I love that when the Justice League are using their powers, their tattoos glow. Like, that is just gorgeous. It's the small details of this movie that, yeah, it's crazy. Not as crazy as the first movie. Britt, have you seen the first Batman Ninja movie yet?
No, because that was very ugly graphics.
Okay, you know what? We need to watch that one day and have you live react to it, because you thought this was a crazy movie.
I think this one, my reaction was, okay, this is cool.
It's cool. Okay, you know what? Can I describe to you a scene that happens in this movie?
Sure.
In the previous movie. So you know how Damien has a affinity to animals?
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I start describing this, the whole chat is going to know what I'm describing. So all of the Batman rogues go back to feudal Japan as well, and they create like castles that like reflect their personality, like Deathstroke, Poison Ivy and stuff. And the castles become tanks, and then they combine into a Megazord run by the Joker. And then to fight this, I'm laughing just thinking about this. Damien's monkey starts playing a flute, and then an army of monkeys show up, combine into a giant monkey, and then bats show up, and then combine with the monkeys to create a giant kaiju of 1939 Detective 27 Batman.
Wow.
And then that Batman collects the Bat family in his fist and punches them into the Megazord. That's how they board the Joker Megazord.
Punches them.
So monkeys plus bats equals Batman, apparently.
I have no idea how they even came up with that.
It is the
Okay.
funniest thing in the world. I'm watching this and I'm like, what the hell am I? So that's why when this movie came out, Robert and I are both like, this is grounded. Like, I know it's doing parallel. It says a lot, Britt, when the parallel dimension story is more grounded.
Right.
When the movie that literally opens with, I kid you not, a Yakuza hurricane, where it's literally raining men, when that is more grounded than a bat monkey mech fighting a Megazord.
I can't believe that actually exists.
It is the most. I'll show you the clip when we're done here. But when I saw this, I was like, because here's the thing about that first Batman Ninja movie, Britt. Everyone assumed that when they were making a Batman Ninja, it would be an Elseworlds movie about essentially, it would have been the Batman Aztec movie, but in feudal Japan, where it's like a samurai becomes a Batman in this universe. Like, all Batman stuff happens in feudal Japan. Nope, time travel. And I'm like, what? But anyway, I'll show you this later. Oh, by the way, actually, wait, I have a clip for that. So it's this.
Time travel!
Anyway. But anyway, so this was a cool depiction of Jessica Cruz, and I liked how she was like a threat. She was like, in some ways, like the henchman of Raish, and I liked where it's that the funny part about this is that, you know, the scene when like they're like seeing like the alternate versions of themselves, like multiples of the same image are shown to Jessica because she hasn't had that many appearances outside of
Right.
So I get why they did that, but again, it's like, I love how in none of her appearances is it like, besides this, is she just yeah, as you can see, I'm really pissed about this version of Jessica Cruz. Because I'm like, she's just the Green Lantern. I'm like, you could have just picked John and been done with it. But anyway, it's like with this, she was a threat. She fought Nightwing when he was in like his suit, and it's just the way that like and plus at the end where she helps create a giant green dragon. It's really cool. But anyway, so Britt, what do you think of her in this movie?
Honestly, I didn't know that she was on the villain side. I mean, well, I take that back. I knew that they had were they possessed or something?
No, what
Or
happened is that at the time Rachel Gould was using his time travel machine to like I think the way he explained it, because it was really convoluted, is that he went back in time to each of their origin. He like changed this reality slightly. So like in this universe, she was a person with like a gambling issue, and she was on the run from the mob, and then she found the magic ring.
okay.
At least that's
Well,
what I think the origin was.
how her power, her scenes and everything, I liked it. I liked the movie itself because yeah, from the first movie, as I said, the graphics and all of that just seemed too wonky. I don't really like that type of style
Mm-hmm.
that they've tried to implement within like anime, you know, even anime shows. So that wasn't my cup of tea in the first place. And then the from, tweets and reviews, it was wonky in more so leaning in a bad way. So yeah, I just left it alone. But this movie seemed like it really took those criticisms from the first movie
Oh
and
yeah.
improved.
They
And
clearly did. They're like, let's make this grounded. Alternate reality time travel.
and we
That's
also
grounded.
and even Diana was the
Oh,
basically the voice of reason.
Diana was the best in this. I love where she catches Harley and then just smashes down. And I'm like, oh yeah. I love where like Superman goes, I'm gonna tear your head off your neck, and then Wonder Woman goes, you'll have to work hard. I have a thick neck. I love sassy Diana. That will never not be good to me.
Right.
But anyway, so then we get to her legacy and cultural import, and it's like it's really great that like we have a character that first off you can show those mental you can have the mental health themes in a way that feels respectful and not like patronizing, and you're able to like have a character that is diverse, but the factor that makes her diverse is not all the character is, because too many times they do that where like what makes them unique, like their race or their gender or their sexuality, is all that character is.
Right, because she actually has a story to be told.
Yeah. So what you're telling me is that she's not Lois.
Or John.
John, I had to. So, Britt, tell me about Light Beyond Fear, or your
Okay,
crossover.
so of course we have to have a crossover every time we cross over the characters. So this goes into Jessica's fears, but also the villain is a spirit. And of course we have to find a way to mix, spirituality and gods, goddesses to have, Wonder Woman involved.
Mm-hmm.
So with this story, it starts off with these innocent young girls, within their PTSD or their dreams become nightmares, things like that. So everything becomes haywire. Um, and Diana, she's the first to start investigating this. Um, but Diana, as we've said, Diana doesn't really know exactly how that feels of just that type of trauma.
Hmm.
So she knew that Jessica has dealt with it, and this is going to be, I would say we could put this maybe Jessica's first year, knowing that, yeah,
Hmm.
it is a big
Yep, that
mission
works.
or whatever, but this is something to truly show her being the hero that she needs to be.
Hmm.
So Diana goes to her because she trusts her and she knows that um she has her faith basically.
Hmm.
Um that Jessica could help find these girls, what they deal with, like I said, the PTSD, the nightmares, and they're in a coma, like sleep
Okay,
paralysis.
that works.
Um, so it's really a psychological thing and um, a character study of the mental state. And no, it's not where how Rucka did so misguidedly
Mm,
in his rebirth run, having Diana in a straitjacket. It's more
yeah,
so just that emotional um study of the characters.
exactly. So then, obviously we have our two characters, Jessica Cruz and Wonder Woman, and okay. So here's the thing, Britt. At first, I thought that the antagonist was an actual DC character, so I looked her up. I didn't have an image. Now, but I have a stand-in image. Tell me if this works.
Basically, yeah,
Yeah, I figured that's what you were going for.
yeah. And that comes from, well, actually, it was actually a movie that I watched.
Okay.
Um, of course, it is spooky season, spooky month. So, um, I had movies going, and I think it was on an app. I don't know if it was Tubi or one of those. It was just random movies, Prime Video, whatever. And it was like a dream weaver, but it was a haunted story. So, the spirit or whatever was going into people's dreams and it, kind of like Freddy Krueger,
Mm,
but it was a haunting of it was more like a folklore,
mm-hmm.
like a story, an old time thing that has been happening for centuries, back in the medieval times, and so they have to um basically know that story to defeat the spirit or whatever that's haunting or trying the spirit that has not had rest yet.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stories like that. So that's pretty much where this character comes from. And we do like making, you know, OC characters.
Well,
So
yeah, and I figured the other thing that made me pick this image, Britt, is because based on the story, I figured that eventually the character would want to like present herself to Jessica as like a screwed up version of Wonder Woman to kind of screw with her head.
exactly. And all of the um I guess the smoke or something or whatever,
Hmm.
lightning,
Hmm.
that this image basically uh, is the image in my head, I would say.
Oh my gosh, are we in sync or are we in
Yeah.
sync? And by Lewis, it's from Justice League Dark, I think, right?
Yeah.
By Tinian. That was actually pretty good. We should probably review that series at one point. Anyway, so let's get started. Tell me about Act One.
So again, Diana, because this is a goddess that was banished, from her wanting more power from people's fears. Of course, Diana, it's within Diana's realm, and the gods are always calling upon her, even though they meddle, have their own meddlesome ways. They need Diana's help. Um, so across the world, there's young girls, and as I said, they go into comas or panic attacks, paralysis, things like that. Whatever, you know, all the causes of, um, social anxiety, wanting basically what Jessica has gone through, having fear of being around people, wanting to stay home, or they just uh, get scared, scream out of nowhere.
Mhm.
So Diana, she realizes that this isn't like something physically attacking. It is something within their emotions and within their mental state. So she goes to Jessica, and Jessica is sensing this too, again, because she's gone through it. But the thing is, she's a little bit hesitant because she's gone through it. She doesn't want to go back to that, you know. Even though she wants to help, it's kind of like, I don't want to deal with my trauma again, you know. So she has to deal with that, basically knowing that, yeah, I've dealt with it, but I've I'm not so much as looking back at the past and going back to that. It's more so just my experience. I can help someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that is pretty much where the balance between them comes from. Is that Diana, she pushes um Jessica that no, just you're still facing that fear. You're not looking back. It's just you're trying to use what you've gone through and how you overcome it to help all of these other young girls who are or have dealt with the same thing.
Okay. I love that.
So Act Two, again,
But a quick question: is there any character for DC that you can't write?
um,
The reason why I'm asking that is that you have a very. I've never read a character that you have written where I'm like, yeah, she kind of messed the ball on that one. It's always, wow, you nailed it.
well, thank you. Um,
I could
I
be
don't
biased,
know.
but that's just me. That's just me.
Honestly, it would be maybe.
Trinity?
Well, we have our own. Well, not to say this because that's an insult to say we have our own, but
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
the, but we know how to write Diana's daughter, you know, a lot better. Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah.
in a sense, I really don't know. The only way to, side note of here, the only way to make Trinity what she should have been was the adoptive daughter, and she should have been Emily's or Amelia's daughter, you know, and
So let me ask you
especially
this. So let me ask you: what if DC retcons out the Steve origin, like gets gets rid of as much of DC of
Steve.
Steve's involvement in that origin? Do you think that's a step in the right direction for the character, or do you think the character in and of herself is unsalvageable?
No, that should have been the decision in the first place because it didn't really make sense to have to emphasize Emily or Amelia pregnant, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and basically at the same what Tom King was trying to do was saying that Trinity's birth was a red herring, but that didn't make sense because you have her at first he's saying her the truth of her origin was in issue 3. And within that issue, it was revealed that Amelia was pregnant. And then you have it where Amelia um, or Emily was Diana's uh, reluctant mentor or trainer. So to basically put that all together, it could have, and she went rogue somehow, and it still really isn't clear on how she became rogue. But in order to put all of these different plots that King set up at the beginning, that would have made more sense and would have been more emotionally resonant, that and connecting them together. Diana taking on Emily's daughter, if she is to die in battle, like some heroic sacrifice or whatever, And it would have been still within the Trinity being connected to the Amazons, and still that drama that you would want. And also, it would have explained why Diana is a little bit disconnected with Trinity, is that it's not her daughter, she's adopted, but that trauma that goes within it, that would have made more sense, you know.
Hmm.
But to have Diana disconnected just because she doesn't have Steve, and having her basically make a trauma baby and whatever like that, no, that is terrible way to go about it.
So you're saying you think that Trinity is unsalvageable?
If you, because we rewrite things all the time.
Hmm.
So we've made sacrifice, you know, that was a mess and we've corrected that, you know, at the best of our ability. So with Trinity, if you, like I said, retcon her to be Emily's daughter, and the trauma that the whole thing brings, you know, that's the of Diana and Trinity. Um, but with, I would say also take out the whole Super Sons babysitting too.
Hmm. Of course.
Her work, but as of now, no, no, she's definitely unsalvageable. You know,
Okay, I see.
we've
But I love Lewis. Well, she is Chucky, baby.
she is the
She is.
Annabelle
Oh my
doll.
god. It
She is.
doesn't help. That Nicola Scott cover of Diana holding her up just does
She
not
looked
help.
disgusted. She definitely looked
She looked like she was
disgusted.
like eh. And she looked like she had just taken she looks like she was gonna change Trinity's diaper and then saw what was in the diaper. That's what she looks like. And by Corey Sims says,
Exactly.
"What's up, everyone?"
Exactly.
It says, "Shout out to the community for being awesome." Of course, yes, exactly. I have an awesome community. She is a bad character, Sally. That is true.
That is true too.
They can't like undo the fact that she is basically a bad character. But anyway, Act Two.
Okay. So in order for Jessica to basically like balance out her own trauma just a little bit, you know, she's overcame a lot, but she still needs that push. Diana invites her to come to the mascara with her, to where she does like a little bit of mental training, um physical training as well, but she also listens to the stories of the Amazons, you know, and basically they share their fears and how they overcame it. Um, so you have that moment, and honestly, I feel like the mascara should be a retreat for some of the other female heroes, you know, to
Yeah.
learn a little bit more and how Diana connects with them, because a lot of times DC wants Diana to be distant and disconnected from the female heroes, and they
But
don't
she
understand
shouldn't
her.
be.
Right. And they don't understand her. So having them go to Themyscira, then they will understand where how Diana thinks and her viewpoints of certain things instead of judging her.
Exactly.
Um, so through basically the meditation and just all of, you know, her training and things, Jessica now can hone in, you know, everything that her trauma, her fear and everything, she can really use that as her ability, you know, to help people. And then, of course, Jessica does become an honorary Amazon sister.
Yes.
And then Diana, seeing that she has helped someone, because we forgot one thing Diana's fear was the disappointment and the failure of Vanessa.
Hmm.
And that also goes within that, is that every like younger person that Diana takes on, especially as a girl, um, she sees Vanessa. So with Jessica, she is seeing Silver Swan, Vanessa, and wanting to not fail her. So this helped Diana overcome that, you know, challenge that she feels like I have to help, you know, this young girl so she won't end up um as another Vanessa for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, I really did. I like that a lot. That's really cool. So next act, Act 3. Let's go.
So Act 3, this is where they travel to Rio de Janeiro, and this is um where the origin of the evil goddess is from. And this is basically, again, the movie that I watched, and also just different documentaries too. And a lot of these, places that still have, like the ruins and everything like that, they tell the stories of maybe spirits that still walk among, certain times, or there is something within the walls, just things like that. We're putting a little bit of those type of stories within this story. Um, so Deloria, she tells basically she wants humanity, of course, to be in control of it, but she wants everyone to feel the pain that she's felt. And that is always a villain's motive in a sense, but being that she was the goddess of maybe pain,
I
or
was about to say, I like that. That's cool.
she maybe something like that, or darkness, then yeah, she wants that full power of darkness and pain.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
So, um, Jessica, she does falter because Deloria feels like she is you know, um, a weak person. She wants to cast that doubt on Jessica, and Jessica does. She goes into that just a little bit, but Diana pulls her out of it because, again, Diana has her own um challenge of she has basically like this flashback of seeing how disappointed Vanessa was. And we can say that at this time Julia has passed, so she still has that burden on her too.
Okay.
Um so with that, they actually help each other, and of course we have to have the lasso within it. So
Mm-hmm.
Diana wraps the lasso around her own arm or hand, and she wraps it around Jessica's too, and it's basically, of course, Diana is helping her see her truth. And with that, with the power of the her lantern ring, she is able to project um this sort of image of showing her as this powerful, inspirational being to defeat Deloria.
Mm-hmm. I dig that. Act 4.
And also, of
Oh
course,
yeah.
within Act 3, we also have some type of speech. Diana will
Ah.
probably say, to Deloria of how, you will never, um, no one is weak. It's always um, the power of love and being confident and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I like that. So Act 4.
So of course, as Diana is the ambassador and her initiatives, I love creating Diana, building her as being the ambassador and professor,
Mm-hmm.
within that. So her initiatives is always expanding, even within our stories. She has an initiative. So she created an initiative for Jessica to lead, which is to help young girls with, again, PTSD. Oh, and they also save the girls. They are out of their comas and, out of their paralyzed state and everything. So to continue on helping them so they won't feel that doubt or just help them within that. She creates a mental help or health program that Jessica leads.
Mhm.
And they also visit together as Wonder Woman and Jessica as Green Lantern, but also just Jessica and Diana. Um, they visit schools, they visit hospitals, shelters and everything to talk to women and young girls and to help them. And Diana sees Jessica as this spokesperson, and she tells her story, and she's so proud of her. So she's like a big sister to her.
Mhm. I dig that. I like that. My movie theater says for $2 super chat, thank you for being amazing comics. Well, thank you for being amazing too, brother. I really appreciate that. So, fantastic story, and the idea of the foundation being called Light Keepers, that is perfect.
Yeah.
That is utterly perfect. Like, wow. Again, it's like, see, this is why I was your biggest fan before I even became your friend. That is amazing.
Well, thank you, Jared. And honestly, again, I guess just just give me a little bit of information for the character. As I said, I haven't read much of Jessica, but those little bits, they're they give you the foundation of the character. So once I have the
Exactly.
foundation, then yeah, I can expand the story.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm like, yeah, if you get the basic plot of the story, if you know who Jessica is at the core, which you do because you did the research, that is where you actually like that you can apply it to all the you can apply that to like you can shape a story around her as opposed to what Tom King is doing, shaping the character on the story. And yes, NJ brings up a good point.
Exactly.
Semper's art really got very stiff as the run went on. Yeah, I
Oh,
do agree
yes, it
because
has.
look at the image on the right, Britt. That's like from the
Right.
first issue. But anyway, so speaking of issues with DC, so, spoiler for DCKO issue 1. Britt and I will be going into spoilers on that. So, first off, Batman does not make it to the contest. So, Batman is dead, air quote. So, it looks like Batman's not going to fight. No, so, first off, they're baiting an actual DC reboot. I love how you call it bootleg Mortal Kombat. They get rid of all the diverse characters in the first, well, not all of them, a good portion of them, but it's like those are the characters that were people relatively going to the event to see them, not necessarily. And it's based on popularity. Did you see that they also retconned what Doomsday's original purpose was, Britt?
Yeah.
And I'm
To
to fight Darkseid, and I'm like, well, they never really in universe, they never really gave an origin for why Doomsday was being created. So I'm like, okay, that's interesting, but it's like, I'm gonna bring up this one point. So during the issue, when they decide they're gonna go do the tournament, they have 7 days to prepare before they have to leave. On the 6th day, they go and spend days with their family. So we see shots of like Diana with her family. Who's not there, Britt?
exactly the Annabelle doll.
That's the funny part. And because they removed the references to Elizabeth, Trinity is the first character to get unreferenced.
Exactly.
Somehow they've done a new thing in comics, unreferencing a character. Which I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
know why anyone cared anyway, but still, it's like, that's the funny part about this. But it's like, here's the other part about the tournament. So the tournament is to determine if, and Angie, I still don't think, I need to see more later to see if Hippolyta is back from being a goddess, because I think she's still a goddess. But anyway, the thing about this that's kind of weird, Britt, is the contest is to determine who's going to be the Omega King. And I get that's what they wanted to do, but in the regular scenario, in a regular story, wouldn't they have just voted on who's gonna have all this power to like reshape reality and fight Darkseid? Wouldn't the League have voted instead of done a tournament?
This is Scott Snyder. He wants power scaling in fights.
Which I
Even
get it because that's a big part of comic books. But I'm like, okay, fine, I get it. Let me put it this way: as long as Diana is not eliminating the first round, which she's not, I'm like, okay, I'm so close. My bracket still lives, even though I had Batman lasting longer than before round one.
I mean, even he said that editorial said that Jason's fight and maybe other fights, I don't know, but particularly Jason's was too violent. So they were definitely, that's why I called it bootleg Mortal Kombat, because they were definitely trying to have these characters go Mortal Kombat route. And he basically advertises as much as, as that too. The characters will go all out and do, any and everything to win. But again, as you said, they would vote, they wouldn't fight. And I just think that that was also just an excuse to have Diana as warrior woman again, of her fighting and just seeing these characters power scale each other. But for that first round and a lot of the characters that you would think would go to the second round at least, for them to be eliminated so fast, it just seemed like
like
they already,
Barda.
yeah, they, and I did see a tweet that said you literally eliminated an actual new god
Yeah,
that
I know.
is
I'm like,
has a connection to Darkseid. You
mhm.
literally eliminated her in the first round. That yeah, that was pretty lame. But it's predictable being that this is supposed to be a Superman story, so Superman is gonna win. It's just the fact that at least make it interesting of the fighters. You have
Well,
the
here's the other
crossover.
thing, Britt. Check this out. So DC has a contest going on that, like, if you have a perfect bracket and you predict before issue 1 came out, DC has a contest going on that if you have a perfect bracket, you win a prize pack. They made it impossible with the whole bait and switch BS because guess who's an option to make it to the end? Batman.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's
honestly,
not fair.
I would say that pretty much everyone's bracket, kind of flopped. Because again, half the characters that they eliminated already, I'm pretty sure some people had they voted them to be, the winners or
Mhm.
something like that.
I voted for Diana. I probably won't win, but I did that out of principle.
I think that um I voted for Diana too, but I think that my list or whatever, within the first round of eliminations for sure, yeah, none of those won. Um,
Uh-huh.
so yeah, I mean, as I said, I think that a lot of these characters, this was impossible, because fans went the logical step, DC went popularity.
Well, and the
Or
other thing is, like, you have to think like Scott Snyder because Scott Snyder's writing the story. So you gotta go, who does he want to win?
exactly. And honestly, I think that Diana will probably be eliminated for it to be, well, it's either going to be her, Lex, Clark, and Joker, or she's
Mhm.
going to be eliminated within this special issue and lose to Lobo.
Oh God! Oh wait, Scott Snyder's also writing this thing. Yeah, Lewis, he's also writing it, but I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so stupid. But at least because here's the only good part about that fight issue, Britt. It's being written by someone other than Tom King, so at least have a break from that.
I
Even
mean, it's written by Joelle, who did Yara,
Mhm.
and she's also the reason why Tom King plagiarized Immortal Beloved.
Okay. Hmm.
And I think
So she's
she
female Tom King, is what you're telling me?
not that bad. She does have a little bit of controversy. Her art is beautiful. It's just the fact that her writing is questionable. She did do also um the Catwoman uh comic after the wedding bomb or whatever, the wedding bait and switch. She started that, and it was okay until she introduced like Selena having another love interest or whatever. I think that was her that did all that. But yeah, her writing is very questionable.
Yeah, I see it. But at the very least, it's not King. So I'm like, yeah. And by NJ says she has a feeling that like they'll beat like Lobo. I'm like, that's what I want to believe, NJ. But this is DC we're talking about.
Right.
So I'm like, could they? Sure. Will they? We'll see. So the other thing I want to talk about is like, yeah, I know that like DC also announced a bunch of new books. And they see, here's the thing: they haven't said anything about the other books, like getting new creative teams. And Scott did say that they're gonna be for. I'm gonna actually pull up the tweet so I can actually read what he said, because when you pay attention to his wording, this is this is why it's very important to save tweets, which I do. But this one says, I put this in here. It was a while ago that this tweet went out from Scott Snyder. So he said that, where is it? Where is it? Come on. I had this tweet up here today. It's got to be somewhere here. But it was before. Oh yeah, here we go. He said we're going to announce a lot of stuff in New York, a lot of stuff we're doing in the spring when it ends, rolling out of it. It's going to create a lot of new books, a lot of excitement, bringing in some new talent, giving some talent that exists a bigger job, switching people around. Now, here is the thing, all kinds of fun stuff. So what that indicates to me is that, yeah, they didn't necessarily announce at New York Comic-Con new creative teams, but it's like it doesn't necessarily rule out that that's happening. So that's the cope that I'm going with for right now. So my suggestion, particularly as it relates to the King thing, is wait and see until we get like the solicits for like the other stuff, and then we'll start to see, because if the solicits for like, let's say February and then March start saying the words end in them, then we're like, okay, he's done. So I'm like, and plus they could announce later on in the coming months that a lot of new because there are some creative teams that I'm fairly certain are going to change. So like, there's no way they leave some of the books in the state that they are, right, Britt?
Exactly. And what's so funny is that Snyder did say that they aren't trying to cancel any books or replace anything. And I'm like, yes, you are, because
You canceled Green Arrow.
yeah, they have canceled a lot of books within November and December, and they are replacing them. And a lot of these books um, are going to be uh, six
Well,
issues. I think Lobo right now is an ongoing.
so
I
is
think
Batwoman, I think.
Batwoman, but at the same time, I mean, I feel like they're trying to have these ongoings, but we know they won't last but 6 issues anyway. So, but in order for them to boost up pre-orders, they have to have it as an ongoing, probably.
Yeah, and then that way, when if the book fails, they can say, "Oh, it was a mini series the whole time." That's what they did with the John Kent book. But I'm surprised Poison Ivy lasts over 30 issues, because everyone loves it. I've heard that's a great book. But again, it's like in terms of the Tom King hate on the channel, they may not have announced that New York Comic Con, or they could tomorrow for all we know. But all I'm saying is, like, it's not the end of the world. At the maximum, the maximum he gets is to issue 50. I've long said he will leave between issue 30 and 50. So the window we're going into in spring, I still don't think he makes it through 2026. I think that's when he like leaves the book, whether by choice or like DC tells him you're done. But I've long said issue 30 to 50 is the window when he gets kicked off. So
yeah, that definitely makes sense.
That's realistically that. So it's like, either way, it's like, all right, because I know people are like, if he did this much damage in 25 issues, how much he's going to do in 25 more? But it's like, that's the situation we're in. Unless the book utterly tanks, which that's another possibility. We need people to not buy it. That's the thing. If people stop buying the book and it tanks, or someone shows up to DC and says, we have a fantastic Wonder Woman pitch. By the way, what does that say about Rucka? That like the books that they're marketing are the creators they ask the creators, you can do whatever you want. What do you want to do? He picked Batwoman over Wonder Woman.
That's because Rucka had already said that he didn't have a story for Diana. Like, he was done.
Good.
But at the same time, he's been saying that, oh, he wants to do some more. I think only because he's trying to force only his vision to the character in such a selfish way.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it's like, in terms of like of what I think is probably going to happen, just watch the announcements. And then we'll see what happens with that. But overall, so here's the thing with DCKO. For what it is, I enjoyed the issue. I think it's pretty fun. The very fact that they got rid of Batman gives it a plus to me, because now it's not like, oh, they're going to bat BS this whole thing.
I mean, he technically, from the preview, he died only for plot reasonings of giving him his own little solo mini thing.
But he's not in the tournament, so he can't win the tournament, because if he was in there, particularly with Scott Snyder, Batman would be the key to the story.
That's true.
So the very fact that they were avoiding that, I'm like, okay, now we can get some actual results here. It's not like Bat God BS.
Well,
I'm fine with that.
True.
Because remember, Dark Crisis, who was the key on that story? Or like, it was either it was Dark Crisis and Absolute Power, a Bat Family character named Nightwing. And I was like, why is everyone paying attention to what Nightwing has to say?
Like, yeah, that was pretty lame. I mean, even with trying to give Nightwing, that platform, I mean, just period. They tried to have Titans as the leaders, and
how did that work out for you?
Right, and the Justice League was disbanded or whatever, and acting like strangers and not the team that they are supposed to be. And that's the thing, when you're trying to make something work, but it is at the expense of other dynamics and stuff, then yeah, it's not going to last. It's going to be DOA.
Well, here's the thing, Britt. Here's how you could done Absolute Power. Have Wonder Woman be the key, because she's currently dealing with issues with the U.S. government. So she could say, look, it's not as bad as it is. It could be worse. Trust me, I'm dealing with a very similar situation right now. And you have Wonder Woman be the leader of the DC universe for that story instead of Nightwing.
Well, you really couldn't, because Diana was very much in her
obsessed
own.
with Steve. I know, but let me put it this way. Let me put it this way. If I were writing it, that's what I would have done, because it's like you're basically kind of set that up, and plus that way I could use it to say I could kind of have small digs at the Tom King run.
Right, Diana. Yeah, it's certain storylines that it seemed like she would be great as the leader of it, but when you have writers like Tom King or whatever, just caring for her, or don't care for her, to be the support or just the background character and just the warrior woman again, then yeah, we're not going to get her as the leader she should be. And I'm
Hmm.
so surprised that of even Wade, to say that Diana is supposed to be like the heart of the Justice League, but yet we have not seen that.
Yeah, I'm like, really? Show me that. Show me that. You haven't even had issues that folks on Wonder Woman in your Justice League run.
Right. So
So
it's
it's like, well, and it's like having a line where she does stuff, or like where she breaks up a screaming match between Batman and Superman does not count.
no,
Actually, have a thing where she leads them in a story.
just yeah. I mean, I can't stand when they make her as like the den mother. She is not babysitting man children.
As funny as that is, but yeah, it's like no, absolutely not. But anyway, so DCKO. So Britt, how do you rate the issue out of 10?
Uh as far
That it's all like
um
that just answered my questions.
I'll give it a 6.
That's fair. That's fair. I'll give you that. That's fair. Let me put it this way: for what it is, it's fun. It's at the very least, it's just going to be a fun event. So it's not read too far into this. If it leads to a reboot, by the way, that's the other thing. They were like heavily like, okay, so the new 52 reboot is acknowledged now.
Yeah, it's I don't know what that was supposed to be. I guess they in a meta
Because
commentary
I
session.
thought according to Mark, what they, oh my God, Britt, they retconned Mark Wade's book, even though it hasn't fully come out yet, because they just retconned that the new 52 reboot
Actually
happened.
exists. Exactly.
I'm like, what the hell?
That is why I said it doesn't even matter. His book really does not matter. They tried to condense the history, but they already started messing up the history anyway with these characters because some of the information is wrong.
Yeah, that is so funny. That is the fun. I just realized that. Oh my gosh, they contradicted it. Oh man, that is great. Yeah, because according to that book, as far as we know, the new 52 reboot never happened according to Wade, but now it did.
Yeah,
What?
yeah,
Well, that's DC's continuity for you. Am I right?
or lack of.
Or lack of. Well, continuity is more of a, it's like in Pirates of the Caribbean, how the Pirates Code is more like guidelines.
I mean, they don't even have that a guide or line. So
they have guide like here are the see, a normal company has guidelines that are like straight lines, right? Here's DC's.
exactly,
That's
just all over the
DC's.
place.
You, yeah, Lewis, he's doing an Oprah impression. You get retconned. You get retconned. You get retconned.
Exactly.
Everyone gets retconned. Yeah, that would be so great. That would be so great. But yeah, but all in all, again, I really had fun this episode because I have fun every episode, obviously. But it's like I always love the opportunity to talk about Jessica. She is one of the arguable new centers of DC. And I feel like with how popular she is, it's only inevitable that she shows up as a in a movie. It's inevitable.
Right.
But anyway, so I think that is a good place to leave it. So Britt, Zach Crom says Jessica is my favorite Green Lantern. I need to push her more. Yep, I agree with you, dude. I agree with you. So Britt, what stories do you have to tease with us?
So I've finally been able to upload, um, which mostly one shots, but I am finishing those chapters again. They will be within the holidays to coincide with the holidays. And I have done. Um, it's very exciting, and again, yeah, to put these characters in situations that DC is afraid of, but at the same time keeping them in, within their core. Rewriting these stories that we know could have been better and putting more of the emotion that we feel as fans, that it should have been emphasized on, and not destroying their relationships, but strengthening their relationships. So it's really fun to write these stories over, but also create playlists for them. A lot of songs are the inspiration as well.
There you
And
go.
those songs will also be inspiration for one shots. I am finishing up 2 more, and those will be posted within the upcoming week.
That's gonna be fun. I'm really excited. You always post great stuff.
Thank you.
And then as for me, I want to tease this. I'm beginning work on a thread. It's how because I did how I would like reinvent Superman. I'm gonna do one for Wonder Woman. So we'll see what I can what I come up with. I'm gonna do some stuff that's gonna really either piss people off or like or like really make people like it. But anyway, we'll see what happens with that. But it's Twitter. There's about a 90% chance I'm going to piss someone off. I mean, I'm the guy that tweets regularly that Lois Lane is the worst character to ever exist. So I'm a glutton for punishment, Britt. I'm a glutton for punishment. Anyway, anyway, stay at work, everyone. Remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lane. She belongs to General Zod. So is the Max about for life. See you guys later. And Steve Trevor belongs in a hydraulic press. I don't want to leave without saying that. So is the Max about for life. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.